Hello and welcome to another video. This is the 7th episode of the story in which Naruto is discovered crying in the woods after failing the Genin exam for the second time by Hinata Hyuga. Naruto decides to make a change, and he is not the only one. Please like and subscribe to show your support. Now, let us begin. Naruto sat in Hinata's hospital room, holding the Hyuga girl's hand as he watched her sleep. She hadn't woken up since he arrived at the hospital hours ago. Her family and Sasuke had already left, but Naruto couldn't bring himself to leave her side. He watched her chest slowly rise and fall. It was as if nothing was wrong with her, but knowing that he was at fault for ending her career, tears threatened to fall again for the second time that day. He sighed, staring at the sleeping girl. "What do I do?" he asked himself quietly. "You shouldn't beat yourself, Kit. You did everything you could, and you still defeated Shikaku," Kyuubi said. "Yeah, a whole lot of good it did me. I couldn't keep Hinata-chan safe," he sighed. "Kit, you're a shinobi. It's an occupational hazard." Naruto sighed again. "Yeah, I know. You know I could help her," Kyuubi said nonchalantly. Naruto's eyes widened. "What? Why didn't you say anything sooner? You stupid fox. Watch yourself, Kit," he growled. "Besides, it might not work." Naruto frowned. "What do you mean?" "Well, first, you would have to inject some of my chakra into her system. Transferring the chakra isn't the problem. Her body and chakra system would have to accept the intrusion," Kyuubi explained. "And if her body doesn't accept the invasive chakra, the results could belace. Just say her career as a shinobi is the least of her problems," he said bluntly. Naruto's eyes widened. Would she die? The demon's silence was the only answer Naruto needed. The blonde sighed, staring at the girl. "What would I have to do?" "You would have to transfer my chakra into her body, via mouth to mouth," Kyuubi said. Naruto sat in his chair, unmoving. After several moments of silence, Naruto's face turned a bright pink. "I'd have Take kiss her?" The Kyuubi chuckled. "It's the most effective way to transfer chakra." Naruto stared at Hinata's face, more accurately her lips, and swallowed hard. "And you're sure it'll work?" "Yes, Kit. But only if she'll accept my chakra," he said firmly. Naruto nodded, swallowing again. He slowly leaned over towards Hinata, ready to press his lips to hers. "Hey brat!" came a loud, gruff voice. Naruto yelped and backed away from Hinata. He looked towards the door, seeing Jiraiya standing in the doorway. His face went from pink to a bright red. "Eero-senin? What are you doing here?" Jiraiya chuckled. "Trying to get in a little action, brat?" "Nice," he said with a perverted grin. "Get your mind out of the gutter," he yelled. "Oh? Then what were you doing?" Jiraiya said, waggling his eyebrows. "I was gonna transfer the Kyuubi's chakra into Hinata-chan," he said, looking away from Jiraiya. "Are you fucking insane, Naruto? That could kill her," he yelled, marching over to Naruto and whacking him on the head. Naruto winced, grasping his head. "I know. The doctors said that Hinata's career is over and she won't ever fully heal. This is on me, and I have to fix it," Naruto said, determined. Jiraiya sighed. "Well, I can understand why you want to, however I don't approve. There are more consequences than benefits when you mess with Bija chakra," he said with a nod. "But there is a way to heal her and get her working again." Naruto's eyes widened and stood up. "Really? How?" "We're going to look for my old teammate. She's the world's best medic." He nodded. Naruto smiled brightly. "Then let's go get her. I want Hinata-chan healed as soon as possible." Jiraiya chuckled. I know, brat. I want you to prepare today. I have another meeting with the council tomorrow, then we'll leave. Naruto nodded. Alright. Thanks, Ero Sennin. He turned back to the girl in the bed and gently took her hand. Don't worry, Hinata-chan. We'll get you up and running soon. He nodded and left the hospital. Jiraiya looked at Hinata and sighed. He's right. Soon, you'll be as good as new. Jiraiya nodded at the girl and left the hospital as well. Naruto walked to the Hyuga compound to tell Hinata's family the good news. On his way to the compound, he saw civilians and shinobi alike removing debris from the streets. He knew Konoha would recover. The damage wasn't as bad as it could have been, but damage was damage. He made it to the compound, seeing more guards than usual. Halt. A Hyuga stepped forward. State your name and business. I'm Uzumaki Naruto. I'm here to speak with Hyuga Hayashi. He said firmly. It concerns his daughter, Hinata. The guards nodded and stepped aside, allowing Naruto to enter. Naruto walked into the compound and saw the Hyugas bustling about, cleaning up the compound from the invasion. He found Hayashi in his office, looking through several files. He knocked on the door even though his body was already through the door. Hayashi? The head Hyuga looked up, seeing Naruto standing in his doorway. Uzumaki. May I ask what you're doing here? I have good news about Hinata-chan, he said with a smile. Hayashi's eyes widened, standing up quickly. What is it? Ero Sennin and I are going to find his old teammate. Apparently she's the world's best medic. Naruto said with a bright smile. Hayashi's eyes widened. Of course, why didn't I think of her? Jiraiya-sama is correct. Tsunade-sama is the best medic there is. If you can bring Tsunade back to heal Hinata, I would be eternally grateful. He said, bowing to the blonde. Naruto's eyes widened. Why, you don't need to bow, Hayashi. I'd do anything to make sure Hinata was well again. He nodded. If you'll excuse me, I need to start packing for the trip. He bowed to the Hyuga head and left the compound. Hayashi sat back in his chair, letting out a sigh of relief. If anyone can do it, it would be you, Uzumaki. As Naruto was leaving the Hyuga complex, a flash of silver hair caught his attention. Hey! Kokwon! Naruto called, rushing over to her. Kokwon, who was leaving the compound as well, turned towards the blonde. Oh! Hey blondie! What's up? How are you? Were you injured in the invasion? He asked, concerned. Kokwon sighed. Not too bad. Got a kunai to the bicep, but I'm okay. One of my friends, she spat. From sound saw me, and attacked me. You apparently fought her in the preliminaries. She shrugged. You mean Kin? She was your friend? Naruto asked, confused. Hardly. She was a total bitch. Orochimaru had us spar constantly, making sure that my body was ready for when he could use it. She was super weak then. Still weak now. Kokwon smirked. Kicked her ass pretty good, if I do say so myself. Naruto chuckled. Awesome. So whatcha doin'? Well, I heard Sweet Cheeks was in the hospital. I figured I'd go visit her. Kokwon nodded. See ya later, blondie. She waved. Naruto waved back, leaving the compound as well. Naruto walked through the village, picking up everything he would need for his journey. He stopped at a weapons shop to pick up some new material. As he walked in, he noticed a familiar face. Hey Tenten! Naruto exclaimed. Tenten blinked. Naruto? What are you doing here? I thought you'd be helping in the village. Naruto shook his head. Ero Sennin, I mean Jiraiya wants to take me outside the village to find his old teammate, Tsunade. Tenten's eyes widened. Tsunade-sama. No way. If you find her, you have to get an autograph for me. I love her so much. She squealed. Naruto chuckled. Well, when I bring her back, you can ask her yourself. What? You're bringing her back to the village? Tenten screeched. Oh my goodness, what would I wear when I meet her? I have to make sure my hair is done, and I have to put on makeup for meeting such a wonderful woman, and Tenten stopped her fussing when she saw Naruto laughing. It's not funny, Naruto. She yelled. Naruto cleared his throat, straightening up. It kinda is. Don't worry, Tenten. I don't think she'll care if you aren't wearing makeup or some sort of amazing outfit. He chuckled. I think you just need to not sound like some fangirl when you meet her. Tenten pouted slightly, but smiled at the blonde. I guess you're right. Alright, Naruto, whatever you want is half price for going on such an awesome mission. She said, giving him a thumbs up. Naruto smiled. Thanks, Tenten. Naruto quickly gathered all of the necessities, paid, and left the shop. He returned to his apartment and began to pack his things. Once he was done, he took a quick shower and went to bed, Hinata's dilemma weighing heavy on his mind. The next morning, Naruto woke up feeling exhausted. Sleep didn't come to him the night before and the battle against Gaara left him drained. Even with his high stamina and Kyuubi's healing, his body still hadn't completely recuperated. He got up, ate a quick breakfast, and changed into his mission clothes. He grabbed his pack and immediately set out to the hospital. With Jiraiya's council meeting, he had a couple hours left before he had to meet the old lecher. When he reached the hospital, he walked to Hinata's room and saw her sister sitting next to her. Hey Hanabi. How's Hinata-chan doing? She's doing a bit better. Some color has returned to her cheeks. She said, taking in Naruto's appearance. Are you going on a mission? Naruto nodded, setting the large pack at the foot of Hinata's bed. I'm going with Ero-sennin to find Tsunade. I'm hoping she'll heal Hinata-chan, he nodded. Hanabi smiled, turning back to Hinata. I hope so too. She's improved so much. I don't want her dream to be crushed before it's even started. You and me both. Has she woken up? He asked, standing next to the young Hyuga. According to a couple nurses, she woke up for a few moments last night, but hasn't woken up since. They think it's because she went through such a traumatic experience that her body is trying to cope with everything it went through. Naruto nodded. It would make sense. Do me a favor, will you? When she wakes up, tell her what I'm doing, and that I'll be back soon. Hanabi nodded. Good luck, Naruto-san. Naruto nodded at the young girl. He moved to Hinata's side, brushed her bangs from her face, and kissed the girl's forehead. I'll be back soon, Hinata-chan. So get better, okay? Hanabi stared wide-eyed at the scene. Were they dating now? Naruto said goodbye to Hanabi, grabbed his pack, and left the hospital. As he walked out of Hinata's room, he saw a familiar green-clad ninja looking a little worse for wear. Lee? What happened? Ugh, hello Naruto-kun. I'm afraid my flames of youth are not up to speed right now. He said, rubbing his head gingerly. I told you not to spar with him. Came Haku, coming from a hospital room. She turned and saw Naruto, smiling brightly. Hello Naruto-san. Hey Haku. Who did Lee fight? He blinked. My Ota-san. Lee asked him for permission to take me to dinner, and the only way he could was to beat him in a spar. Haku explained. And now, he should be back in his room, resting. She said with disapproval. But my beautiful Haku-chan. How am I going to take you out if I cannot get stronger and defeat your Ota-san? Lee exclaimed. Naruto snickered at Lee's predicament. Yahaku's Ota-san isn't one to take lightly. He smirked. Do you know of him, Naruto-kun? How do I earn his approval? Lee begged, falling to his knees and grasping the tail of Naruto's trench. The blonde chuckled nervously. Well, he turned to Haku for help, who was laughing at the scene. I guess just show him how serious you are about taking Haku out. Don't just say it. Prove to him that you are worthy of his daughter, whether it's through beating him or something else. Lee stood up, fire burning in his eyes. Wosh. I shall do it. Don't worry, my amorous Haku-chan. I will do whatever it takes to defeat your Oda-san. I must start immediately. He yelled, trying to leave the hospital. He was stopped when Haku grabbed him by his collar. You can start tomorrow. Today, you rest. She said with a firm frown. Lee pouted, but conceded when Haku promised to stay with him as long as she could. Naruto laughed at the couple. I'll see you later, guys. You going to help with the reconstruction, Naruto-kun? Lee asked. No, I have a mission. I want one more bowl of Ichirakus before I meet up with Ero Sennin. He waved to his friends and left them. He decided to visit one more person while he was here. Naruto needed to see the Hokage, and make sure he was okay. He checked at the front desk, and after arguing with the nurses, found the Hokage's room number. When he approached the room, he saw several ANBU stationed outside the door. He tried to bypass them, but he was stopped. No one is allowed to visit Hokage-sama without permission. The ANBU with a hawk mask said. Well then lem ask for his permission. Naruto said bluntly. If you were not given permission beforehand, then you cannot enter the room. Hawk said again. That's bullshit. I bet Konohamaru can visit. The blonde yelled. He is family. The other ANBU, one with a monkey mask, said. Well, the old man is practically my grandfather. I should be able to see him. He hollered. If you do not leave, I will be forced to take action. Hawk said. The door opened, revealing a weary Sarutobi, in a wheelchair. It's alright, ANBU. Naruto is practically family. I've been wanting to see him. The old man smiled. Come in, Naruto. He said, wheeling back towards his bed. Naruto's eyes widened, seeing his grandfather figure in such a state. He numbly stepped forward, closing the door behind him. Gigi, Naruto whispered. How are you, Naruto? Not hurt, I hope. Sarutobi smiled. Naruto nodded. I'm okay. Not hurt too bad. How are you? He asked, his eyes not leaving Hiruzen's legs. I'm okay, Naruto. Really? Maybe a little tired, but I'm alive. He said with a smile. But Naruto sighed, and smiled at the old Hokage. Yeah, you're right. Did Ero Sennin tell you about our mission? He did. I hope you find her. I think you'll be the only one to bring her back. He nodded. Naruto blinked. Really? How come? He asked curiously. You'll remind her of someone precious to her. Hiruzen nodded. Now, be good for Jiraiya. And please make sure he stays focused on the trip. The old man said with a tired sigh. Naruto laughed. No problem, Gigi. He ran over and hugged the Hokage before rushing towards the door. See ya, old man. I'll bring back Tsunade and you can finally retire. He beamed, quickly leaving the room. Hiruzen chuckled. Good luck, Naruto. As Naruto walked through the village towards his favorite food stand, he saw all the cleanup that was going on. A lot of debris had been cleared, but there was still a lot to do. Naruto continued on his way, until he reached Ichiraku's. He sat his pack down by his seat, and sat down. Hey Tucci. I need a miso ramen. Jiraiya sat in the Hokage's office, listening to the reports on the village. The cleanup was well underway, and it helped that there was minimal damage. The death count wasn't as high as he had anticipated either. So far, the meeting was going quite well. Jiraiya-sama. Jiraiya snapped out of his slight daze, turning towards an ANBU that had entered the room. Jiraiya-sama. It appears that Danzo is requesting to enter the meeting. Shall I allow him in? The Sannin growled. Fine, show him in. The ANBU bowed and vanished into the shadows. Moments later, Danzo stepped into the room. Why was I not informed about this council meeting? Danzo frowned, moving towards his seat at the council table. Because you weren't invited. Jiraiya stated bluntly. The elderly man scowled. You should learn your place, Jiraiya. I will not be disrespected by the likes of you. Jiraiya clenched his teeth, but remained silent. After a few tense moments, Danzo spoke. Well? What are the numbers? Hayashi cleared his throat, picking up a piece of paper. The death count was minimal to the village. There were 4 civilian deaths, no children. And 22 shinobi deaths, 0 ANBU, 7 jounin, 12 chunin, and 3 genin. The Hyuga said firmly. How sad those genin did not make it out. Were they children? Danzo asked. Only one. A 13-year-old. The others were veteran genin. Hayashi said. Ah, I see. My condolences to the departed. Danzo said with a slight bow of his head. Now, have you given thought about Hiruzen's retirement? He asked smoothly. Jiraiya smirked. Yes, we have. Tsunadeheim will be the new Hokage. Danzo raised his visible eyebrow. Oh? Do you think that is wise? She has not been in the village for a better part of a decade. Danzo said firmly. Jiraiya shrugged. With a history of Hokages in her lineage and a Hokage as a teacher, it's only fitting she become the next Hokage. Jiraiya smirked. Danzo thought for a moment. Perhaps you're right. Jiraiya was taken back. Seriously? The Toad Sage frowned again. With that kind of lineage and history, it would be wise to have such a ruler. But how do you plan on bringing her back? Forgive me, but I don't believe your teammate is the type of woman that would do as you please merely because you ask nicely. He said nonchalantly. Not that it's any of your business, but I have leverage. Jiraiya smirked. Danzo narrowed his eyes at Jiraiya. What kind of leverage? It's none of your business. If you really want to know, find out for yourself. Now, if that's all you have to say, Elder Danzo, I believe this meeting is adjourned. The Sannin said, standing up from his chair. I do believe you're right. Good day to you, council members. Jiraiya. He said with a bow of his head. Danzo turned on his heel and left the meeting room. The other council members bid farewell and good luck to Jiraiya on his retrieval mission. After everyone left, Jiraiya took a deep breath and sat down in his seat. He rubbed his temples, trying to block an oncoming headache. He looked up at the clock and sighed. He needed to find his ward and get going. Ah! Naruto exhaled, feeling content. That was your best bowl yet, Tsuchi. Naruto smiled. One more. He said, raising his bowl in the air. I don't think you have time, Naruto. Tsuchi smiled. Naruto blinked. He turned and saw Jiraiya approaching the stand. Ah man. Alright. He pulled out the necessary bills from Gamachan, paying the ramen maker. He grabbed his pack and met up with the white-haired Sannin. Alright, Ero Sennin. I'm ready. Alright brat, let's go. He smirked. The blonde nodded and the two set off towards the gates of Konoha. As they approached, Naruto saw Sasuke and Kokwon waiting for him. Hey guys. What ya doin' here? He blinked. I'm here to make sure you don't skimp out on your training. Sasuke smirked. I need someone that can give me a challenge. Naruto smirked. Oh. I'm sure Lee's not busy right now. I'm sure he'd take pleasure in kicking your ass again. Sasuke frowned deeply, and Kokwon laughed. The silver-haired girl slapped Sasuke on the back. Cheer up, Grumpy. I'm sure Blondie here was just kidding. Besides, I could use a training partner for a while. Sasuke turned to the girl and sighed. Fine. Try and not to get into any trouble, Dobe. I know how it follows you. Naruto chuckled nervously. Yeah, I do too. When I get back, we can have a spar and see who trained harder. Deal. The Uchiha smirked. The two boys nodded, and Naruto turned to Kokwon. Make sure he doesn't do anything stupid. I should be saying that to Jiraiya. Sasuke pouted. Kokwon smirked. Don't worry. And I'll make sure to see sweet cheeks every day while you're gone. She winked. Naruto nodded to his friends again and set out with the Toad Sage. The two shinobi walked for several hours, trying to cover as much ground as they could before dark. Naruto spent most of the time asking Jiraiya about his teammate, what she looked like, was she as skilled as everyone said she was, would she heal Hinata, if she was still a ninja, if she would really heal Hinata, if she was stronger than Jiraiya, if he was stronger than Orochimaru, and if she could really heal Hinata. Oh my god, for the 1000th time. Yes. She can heal you, girlfriend. Jiraiya yelled, annoyed by Naruto's constant questions. Naruto pouted. Well, no need to be all snippy. Jiraiya sighed, pinching the bridge of his nose. This is why I didn't have any children. He said to himself. Naruto frowned at the pervert. Yeah, whatever. Anyways, are we walking? Wouldn't it be faster to travel through the trees? The blonde asked, curiously. Jiraiya sighed again. Swanda is able to sense chakra miles away. She'll know we're coming before we even know she's in town. So we walk, and conserve our chakra. Naruto sighed himself. He wanted to find her as fast as he can so she could heal Hinata. Fine. So here do you think she is? Well, if I know Tsunade, and believe me I do, she'll be somewhere with a lot of gambling halls. Jiraiya nodded. Naruto raised an eyebrow and Jiraiya elaborated. Tsunade's also known as the legendary sucker. She's a compulsive gambler with a massive losing streak. Naruto nodded in understanding. So I guess that means you know where to look? Jiraiya nodded as well. We should start our search on the edge of Hai no Kuni, even going into Cha no Kuni. Naruto raised his eyebrows. Cha no Kuni asterisk. I didn't know there were gambling halls there. Jiraiya chuckled. Oh yeah. Cha no Kuni and Ta no Kuni asterisk asterisk have more gambling halls than you'd expect. Naruto nodded. Well, let's hope she's not in Ta no Kuni. I don't think I could handle any more Oto bastards. Jiraiya chuckled. You and me both, kid. A day had passed since Naruto and Jiraiya left Konoha and they made it to the outskirts of Ta no Kuni. The young blonde was beyond ecstatic to finally make it to another town. Oh, thank God. I can finally have some real food. Naruto exclaimed, leaping into town with fervor. Jiraiya rolled his eyes. Hey! Now is not the time to be celebrating. You still have some training to do. He scolded. He chuckled when he saw Naruto deflate. Don't worry, kid. You almost have the Rasengan down. It won't take that much longer. Naruto nodded, smiling at his teacher. As they walked further into town, Naruto's eyes began to light up. Hey! A festival's going on in town. I can see that. I doubt Tsunade's going to be here, but I'm going to ask around town and see if anyone's seen her. Jiraiya said, pulling out Gamachan from his pack. Hey! When did you take Gamachan? Naruto yelled, trying to snatch his wallet back. I've had it since the beginning of our trip. You really need to keep a better eye on your money, kid. Jiraiya teased. Naruto puffed out his cheeks, glaring up at the Sannin. Jiraiya chuckled and pulled out some Ryo, tossing it towards Naruto. Here. Take this and have some fun. I'm going to ask around. He put Gamachan back into his pack and left the blonde. Naruto looked at the Ryo and sighed. At least I can have a little fun. He smiled. He pocketed the money and went to enjoy the festival. Sasuke and Kokwon walked into the hospital, holding a bouquet of sunflowers. They walked into Hinata's room, both teens gasping. Hinata was sitting up in her bed, reading a book. She looked up, hearing the gasps. Hinata's face broke into a bright smile. Sasuke. Kokwon. Hinata. Sasuke smiled, moving to her bedside. When did you wake up? Last night. She smiled back. Here you go, sweet cheeks. Kokwon said, handing Hinata the bouquet. Hinata smiled. I love sunflowers. Thank you. She looked at her friend, her smile fading slightly. Where's Naruto-kun? No one's told you yet? Sasuke asked, raising an eyebrow. When Hinata shook her head, Sasuke spoke. Naruto went with Jiraiya-sama to find Tsunade-sama to heal you. Hinata's eyes widened. What? He's really doing that for me? Kokwon chuckled. You bet your ass, sweet cheeks. He doesn't want your career to end. Hinata felt tears form in her eyes. Naruto-kun, she whispered. She straightened up, wiping the tears away. So how are things going in the village? Kokwon and Sasuke told Hinata about the cleanup, and how the Hokage decided he wouldn't announce the Chunin results until Naruto returned. Hinata smiled. How is Hokage-sama? Well, he's alive. Kokwon shrugged. But? He's lame. Sasuke sighed. He's confined to a wheelchair now. Hinata nodded. I'm glad he'll be okay. The trio talked for a little while longer before Sasuke and Kokwon said their goodbyes. The duo left the hospital, and walked down the street towards the dango shop for a quick bite. When they arrived at the shop, Sasuke instantly felt on edge. What's the matter? Kokwon blinked. Something's off. I don't know what but Sasuke froze in place, seeing two shinobi sitting at the dango shop. They had on black cloaks with red clouds on them, and cone-shaped, straw hats. Sasuke? Kokwon asked worriedly. She turned towards where Sasuke was looking. Who are they? She whispered. We need to go. Now. Sasuke said hurriedly, grabbing Kokwon and running away from the shop. What, Sasuke? Kokwon yelled. Sasuke, came a soft, feminine voice. Isn't that the name of Itachi's brother? Yes it is, Conan. I think we should capture him. Itachi will come after him, and we can take care of that traitor. Came a gruff, angry voice. Calm down, Kisame. We need to do this delicately. The woman, Conan, said with a straight face. I'm sure Itachi will find us in time. Kisame frowned. He wasn't the patient type. Yeah, well I think we should follow the brats. They'll lead us straight to him. Conan sighed, taking one last sip of her tea. Fine. Let's go. Both her and Kisame left the dango shop, vanishing into the shadows. Sasuke continued running with Kokwon until he came up upon the Uchiha compound. He came to a stop in front of a rather large pond, where his favorite dock was. Sasuke placed his hands on his knees, trying to catch his breath. What the fuck was that for, Sasuke? Kokwon said in between breaths. She straightened up after regaining her breath. Sasuke straightened up as well. Those people, who had won the black cloaks with red clouds, are bad ninja. He took a deep breath, explaining how his brother was a spy for their organization, before he returned to Konoha. Then what are they doing in Konoha? Are they after your brother? Kokwon asked seriously. I have no idea. But I need to warn Itachi. Sasuke said. He started to head towards his home, when a dark chuckle appeared behind him. Sasuke and Kokwon turned to the laugh, a tall, blue figure emerging from the pond. Sorry brat. I think he'll figure out we're here soon enough. Kisame said, standing on the water. You know, once he finds his brother's mangled body scattered across the compound. Sasuke shivered. Kisame. Konan said, walking up behind Sasuke and Kokwon. We aren't here to play. We're here for a specific reason. We'll take care of Itachi later. Kisame growled. Killjoy, Konan sighed. You're Uzumaki Naruto's teammates, correct? I wouldn't say teammate, Kokwon mumbled. What do you want with Blondie, anyways? That's enough, Kokwon. Came a cold, deadly voice. Kokwon and Sasuke looked around, trying to find the voice. Moments later, Kakashi, along with several other jounin, Kurenai, and Guy, appeared next to them. Kakashi-sensei? Sasuke blinked. What are you doing here? I caught a glimpse of their cloaks and decided to follow them. It's a good thing I did. Kakashi glared at the two Akatsuki members. Kurenai frowned. Who are these people, Kakashi? Hoshigaki Kisame. He's one of the 7 swordsmen of Kirigakure. Missing S-class shinobi. Who's the other one? Guy asked. No idea, Kakashi said with a glare. Humph. My name is Konan. She said with a frown. It's an honor to meet you, Hatake Kakashi. Your reputation precedes you. She said with a slight bow. The 3 jounin blinked. That was a new one. Kurenai frowned, drawing a kunai. Why are you here? Where's Uzumaki Naruto? Kanona asked calmly. Why would we tell you? Kakashi said, lifting up his Hitai 8, revealing his Sharingan. Kisame chuckled. Because if you don't, your deaths won't be swift. When no one spoke, Kisame scoffed. Fine. Then I guess we'll just have to beat it out of you. He chuckled, launching himself at the group of jounin. The 3 jounin stood ready to defend themselves, but Kisame didn't make it too far before he was sent flying back by a surprisingly strong kick. Kisame skipped and skidded across the water before regaining his footing. He stood up straight, staring at an ANBU. Kisame had a dark, bloodthirsty smirk come across his face. Well well. You decided to show up after all, Itachi. So glad you decided to grace us with your presence. The ANBU didn't move. Itachi. Konan said softly. I am not happy with you. She said with a deep frown. You turned against Leader Sama. I cannot forgive you for that. The ANBU reached up and slowly pulled back his mask, revealing Itachi. The older Uchiha stared blankly at his 2 old teammates. I understand. Though I never turned my back on you, I was never loyal to begin with. Konan gasped softly, her frown turning into a dark glare. Then I shall kill you. She said, preparing to attack. Kisame smirked. Hey, don't take all the fun now. He said, reaching for his sword. Itachi sighed. You want Uzumaki Naruto, correct? The 2 Akatsuki members froze. They couldn't forget their objective. Damn, you would kick us where it hurts. Kisame smirked, straightening up. Are you going to tell us? Itachi closed his eyes, and opened them, staring into Kisame's and Konan's eyes. No. Booty thinks 72 hours in Tsukiyomi shall dash. Itachi froze, feeling something off about the two shinobi in front of him. It looks like you finally caught on, Itachi. Conan smirked. You never could catch it. Conan began to vanish in a swirl of paper, Kisame as well. Their bodies completely vanished, and Kurenai and Guy stood where they had previously been. Itachi's eyes widened slightly, as he stared at the two jounin. Kurenai and Guy stared at Itachi, crumpling to the ground shortly after, groaning in pain. Kakashi's eyes widened as well, and he rushed to Kurenai. What happened? Kakashi said, gently lifting her. Conan is one of the few people that can deceive my Sharingan. Itachi frowned. You've improved your genjutsu as well. He glared. Kakashi laid an unconscious Kurenai down, standing next to Itachi. Now what? He frowned. Itachi turned to where his old comrades were standing. Kisame looked murderous, and Conan looked quite calm. It appears we're beaten. Kakashi growled lowly. There's nothing we could do. We would be able to take on Kisame, and live. Probably. He said with a blunt tone. Conan will destroy us and the village in less 10 minutes. He frowned. We don't have a choice. Kakashi frowned at the face Kisame had. He's not here. He ground out. Where is he? Conan asked calmly. He's with the Sannin, Jiraiya. Kakashi spat. Conan's eyes noticeably widened. I see. Then we'll be on our way. She said, straightening up. Come, Kisame. Kisame frowned. You're lucky, Itachi. Next time we meet, I'll let Samahita tear you to shreds. He said with a bloodthirsty grin. The two Akatsuki members shoo-shined away, leaving behind two rather angry males. Kakashi frowned. We need to get them to the hospital. Agreed. He said, moving to Kurenai. I'll take her. I don't think I could carry him. He said, pointing to Guy. Kakashi sighed, getting the green-clad ninja onto his back. How long will they be in this genjutsu? 72 hours. When they wake up they'll be upset. He said, placing his ANBU mask back on his face before lifting up Kurenai into his arms. Come. We need to hurry. Hiruzen was in his office, going over the paperwork of the Chunin exams, when Kakashi walked through the door. Kakashi? What's wrong? Hiruzen asked, putting his most recent document down. We have a problem, Hokage-sama. A big one. He said with tense shoulders. Hiruzen frowned. What happened? Before Kakashi could explain, an ANBU wearing a weasel mask. Weasel. What can I do for you? I have brought witnesses of the culprits, Hokage-sama. I see. Escort them in and then we'll get to the bottom of this. Naruto sat in his room at the inn he and Jiraiya were staying at, munching on some candies he had bought at the festival. Man. Ero Sennin is sure missing out. These are awesome. He exclaimed, popping another candy in his mouth. He was curious to where his pervert of a sensei was, but he also really didn't want to know. He continued eating his sweets, savoring the flavors. He jumped slightly, hearing a knock on the door. He blinked, wondering who it was. He walked over and opened the door, staring up at two people. Can I help you? He asked, unsure who these two were. Uzumaki Naruto? Came the firm, feminine voice of Conan. Yehuza skin? Who were these people? So this is the Kyubi container. Kisame said, stepping beside Conan. He's pretty puny. I thought he'd be dash. Kisame stopped talking when Naruto slammed the door in both their faces. Conan sighed. Well done, Kisame. You gave him an opening to run. Conan said with a slight shake of her head, rushing out of the inn to follow Naruto. Kisame grumbled. Well done, Kisame, he said in a higher-pitched voice. He can't outrun me. He growled, running behind Conan. Naruto ran as fast as he could across the rooftops of the town. Shit. 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 These must be some of Itachi's old friends. Shit. Fuck. I have to get away. Where the hell is Ero Sennin when you need him? Jiraiya, who was up to his chin in busty, scantily clad women, felt a small shiver run down his spine. What the hell? He was instantly at attention, sitting up straight, his eyes scanning around him. Jiraiya-sama, one woman cooed in his ear. We've missed you, Jiraiya-sama. Why haven't you seen us more often? Oh, Jiraiya-sama. You're the best there ever was. Another whispered on his lap. Jiraiya shushed the girls, still surveying the area. He felt another shiver roll down his spine, and it wasn't from the many women flouncing around him. No. It can't be. Jiraiya shot to his feet, knocking some of the girls on their butts. Jiraiya-sama! They exclaimed. Jiraiya ran out of the brothel, furiously looking through the streets. He finally sensed a large quantity of chakra, and rushed towards it. Naruto ran as fast as he could, attempting to escape the two Akatsuki. He deployed a dozen shadow clones, trying to throw off their trail, but so far it wasn't working. Naruto turned down an alley, skidding to a halt. Oh fuck, now you have no place to run. Kisame chuckled, approaching Naruto. Come quietly, and we won't harm you. Kanan said, standing next to Kisame. Naruto growled, his hand reaching for a kunai in his pouch. You can't beat us, brat. You'll die in the process. And I have no qualms about killing you. Kisame smirked, grabbing the hilt of Samahata. How about you take on someone your own size, fish face? The three shinobi turned to the voice, seeing Jiraiya behind them. Conan, it's been too long. Jiraiya growled. Jiraiya-sama. She said with a bow. A pleasure to see you again. Naruto blinked, staring at the scene. Ero Sennin, you know this girl? Kanana turned and glared at Naruto. It appears you have yet to teach him manners, Jiraiya-sama. He's a work in progress. He shrugged. You can't have him, Conan. Are you going to defend him? She asked boredly. When Jiraiya nodded, she sighed. Then it appears we are outmatched. Come, Kisame. We'll fight another day. What? You can't be serious. Kisame objected. Kisame. Conan said firmly. Jiraiya-sama is a legendary Sannin. It would be pointless to fight a losing battle. Kisame growled. You're lucky, kid. Next time I am going to let Samahata feast on your bones. Naruto shivered as he watched Conan and Kisame retreat. Naruto marched up to Jiraiya, growling at the old man. You stupid Ero Sennin. Where the hell were you? Hey! Calm down. I made it here, didn't I? He yelled back. Come on, kid. We should get moving. We've caused too much of a scene in this town, and I should send Sarutobi-sensei a message saying we encountered the Akatsuki. Naruto sighed, still angry at his sensei. Fine. But I'm still mad at you. Yeah, whatever, kid. Sasuke sat at the edge of his favorite dock at the lake in the Uchiha complex, his feet dangling above the water. The events that had transpired that day still weighing heavily on his mind. He heard footsteps behind him, and sighed. Look, Aniki. I'm not up to talking right now. Can we talk about this later? Sure, Sasuke. If I was Itachi. Sasuke turned around and saw Kakashi behind him. Sensei? What are you doing here? I'm here to talk about what happened earlier. He said, moving behind his student. You know you did everything right. Sasuke sighed. Yeah. Sure. I ran, and now Gai-sensei and Kurenai-sensei are in the hospital. He growled. Sasuke, not every fight requires fighting. Sometimes you have to run. You have to relay information before something serious happens. Which you did. Kakashi said, patiently. Then why do I feel so weak? He grumbled, punching the dock under him. Listen, Sasuke. I know you want to be strong. We all do. But you need to take a step back and re-evaluate why you want to become strong. Now that Itachi's back, you don't seem to have a clear path anymore. Sure, you want to resurrect the military police. A great goal. But how are you going to do that? You need to pace yourself. Set up small, temporary goals before you can get to your main one. Kakashi said, nodding more to himself than Sasuke. The younger Uchiha sighed. Yeah, I know. He looked out at the lake in front of him. What do you think I should do, Kakashi-sensei? Kakashi thought for a moment, rubbing his clothed chin. Well, start out with training to become Chunin. Then figure out if you want to become Jounin. Work your missions and train hard until you become one. And if by then, you still want to resurrect the military police, talk to the Hokage about it. I'm sure he'd be more than happy to discuss matters with you. Only when you're ready, of course. Sasuke nodded. All right. I'll think about what you said. He turned around, looking up at his sensei. How are Kurenai-sensei and Gai-sensei doing? Kakashi sighed, running a hand through his hair. Well, their minds went through a very traumatic experience, and their bodies are trying to compensate right now. Meaning? Sasuke said with a raised eyebrow. The doctors have put them into medically induced comas, so their brains can try and cope with the trauma they went through. He said softly. Sasuke nodded. I see. Did Kurenai-sensei at least make you your 3-course meal? Kakashi's eye widened. How did you know that? Sasuke smirked. Sorry. I won't reveal my sources. His smirk faded, and he gave Kakashi an apologetic look. Look, sensei, I know you feel bad about what Aniki did to Kurenai-sensei and Gai-sensei. But that wasn't your fault. It wasn't Aniki's fault either. So if you don't blame yourself for what happened to them, I won't blame myself for not being strong enough to do more. Kakashi nodded, giving Sasuke the UI. Deal. Kakashi left Sasuke with his thoughts, but both males wouldn't stop blaming themselves for a long time. Here we are. Cha no Kuni. Jiraiya exclaimed, stretching as he entered the town. He looked down towards the blonde, who he expected to be just as happy to reach civilization. His eyes widened slightly, seeing Naruto looking serious and somewhat pessimistic. What's wrong, brat? Naruto looked up at Jiraiya, frowning at the man. Really, Ero-sennin? We fought 2 members of the Akatsuki. We haven't found any trace of your teammate, and Hinata-chan is still hurt. My stress level is pretty high right now. He growled. Jiraiya sighed, knowing that Naruto was right. Alright, brat. I get it. Listen. How about today I give you the day off? I'll look around and see if anyone has seen Tsunade. Tomorrow though we're going to do some intense training. Naruto nodded, happy to have some time off. He had been training non-stop in between their traveling, working on his taijutsu and chakra control. He had pestered Jiraiya about teaching him a new jutsu, but the old lecher didn't budge, saying he needed to perfect the Rasengan first. Alright, Ero-sennin. Should I meet you anywhere later? He asked, wanting to make sure he and his teacher weren't separated for long. Meet me back here in a couple of hours. We'll find an inn to stay at later. The Sannin said with a nod. Now off with you. The blonde nodded and decided to find something to eat before he did anything else. He took off into town, leaving the pervert behind. Jiraiya sighed, smiling at his blonde pupil. You'll need your rest, brat. His smile faded to a frown. Something bad is going to happen. And probably soon. Naruto strolled through town, looking for something to eat. Nothing was catching his attention. Then again, none of the restaurants were Ichiraku's. He finally found a small restaurant that looked good and walked in. Once he stepped in, he was hit with delicious smells. "Oh, Mani can't wait to eat," he said, salivating at all the smells around him. As he looked around the restaurant, he noticed that it was kind of dark and a little beat up. He looked towards the back and saw a bar, with alcohol lining the wall. But one thing did catch his eye. A blonde woman. Usually it wouldn't have mattered to him, a woman having a drink. But something in his gut was telling him she was different. "Oi! Kyubi!" Naruto shouted in his mind. The Kyubi growled at the sudden noise. "What do you want, Kit?" "I was napping." "You're always napping. Check out the blonde woman over there. Think she could be Tsunade?" Naruto asked, staring at the woman's back. "Her hair looks right." The Kyubi rolled his eyes. "Great observation. Can't you feel her chakra? It's ridiculously high." "It's her." Naruto smiled brightly. He found her. Completely by accident, of course, but it didn't matter. Naruto rushed towards the bar, where he sat next to her. "Hey! Tsunade." The woman lazily looked at the blonde boy, her face tinted pink from drinking. Who are you?" she slurred. "I heard you were the world's best medic. Can you heal my friend?" he asked enthusiastically, practically bouncing in his seat. "Oi, you can't just approach someone like that." She frowned, downing another small cup of sake. "Who are you anyways? How do you know my name?" she replied angrily. "Well," Naruto said, panicking. How about this? I'll tell you who I am, and how I know you. But only if we can grab something to eat," he said, trying to defuse the situation. "Also, you have to hear me out. You can't leave during my explanation." He had heard from Jiraiya about Tsunade's temper and how she tended to storm out and throw fits when she got mad. Tsunade looked at the boy with a raised eyebrow. She shrugged a little bit and stood up with Naruto, moving towards a table, where they were given menus. Tsunade, who had brought her sake with her from the bar, sighed and poured herself another cup. Naruto smiled at the woman, excited to tell her about Hinata-chan. Naruto ordered 2 plates of yakitori and some tea for himself. Tsunade merely ordered more sake, as if she needed it to listen to him. Tsunade once again poured herself another cup of sake, and downed it in one swallow. "All right, brat. You've ordered your food, and I've got me some more sake. Why are you here, and how do you know me?" Naruto sighed, taking a small sip of his tea. "My name is Uzumaki Naruto. I am the son of Uzumaki Kushina and the Yondaime Hokage, Namikaze Minato," he said softly. Tsunade's eyes widened and she dropped her sake cup, the small cup hitting the table. What? Why, you're Naruto?" Naruto nodded. "Yeah, I am," he said, scratching his nose. He yelped when he felt his head being grabbed and shoved into a rather generous chest. "Oh, Naru-chan," she cried. "I can't believe it. You've gotten so big and handsome." She squealed, rocking the boy back and forth. She pulled him away from her chest and gave him a once-over. "My God, you look just like your father. He was a handsome specimen. You're going to be a heartbreaker once you've grown up a bit." Naruto's face flushed a bright red, and he scratched his nose again, embarrassed by the woman's Sannin's compliments. Thanks." Tsunade sat back down, resting her chin in her hands. "You have to tell me about your life. How have you been? Has Jiraiya been taking good care of you?" "Actually, don't answer that. I don't want to know if he's corrupted your mind with his super perversion." She groaned. Naruto chuckled. Well, actually, he a little nervously. Ero-sennin didn't take care of me. He looked at her, seeing confusion and shock. What do you mean he didn't take care of you? She growled. Naruto chuckled nervously, seeing the waiter coming with the yakitori. Oh look! Our food's here, he said, trying to distract her. The food was placed in front of them and Naruto grabbed a skewer and took a mouthful of the delicious food. Naruto, she hissed. Who took care of you? She said in a deadly tone. Naruto sighed. I'll explain later. He saw Tsunade give him a rather angry glare and he shivered. I promise I'll tell you. But you promised to hear me out. At least do that first. Tsuanda sighed, straightening up in her seat. Fine. Start talking, brat. Naruto nodded and started on his story. He started with the Chunin exams, talking about his matches and then the initial defeat of Gaara. He went over how Hinata was hurt and now could no longer continue her career as a ninja due to the extensive injuries. Tsunade clicked her tongue. Konoha's medical team surely have fallen, she said with a shake of her head. Naruto shrugged. That's why I'm here. I came with Ero-sennin to see if you'd come and heal Hinata-chan. Tsunade sighed, looking at Naruto with a sad smile. I'm sorry Naruto. I really am. But I will not be going back to Konoha. There are too many bad memories there for me. Naruto's eyes widened. But Hinata is such a good person. She deserves to fulfill her dream. That may be Naruto, but I will not be going back to Konoha, she said firmly, sipping more of her sake. Naruto growled slightly. Humph. I don't know why Gigi and Ero-sennin even bothered to get you then. You can't be Hokage if you won't go back. Tsunade's eyes widened and she choked on her sake. What? I don't think I heard you right, Naruto. Did you say, Hokage? She coughed. Naruto nodded. The old man got really hurt in the Chunin exams, fighting Orochimaru. He has no use of his legs anymore, and Ero-sennin said that he plans to retire once a replacement can be found. Tsunade shook her head. Now I'm really not going back to Konoha. Sorry kid, but I will not be the Hokage of that godforsaken place. Naruto growled, shooting to his feet. Good. Because you're worse than trash. Tsunade's eyes widened slightly, then narrowed at the blonde boy. What did you say, brat? She stood up, knocking her chair back. She grabbed the edge of the table, leaning towards Naruto, so they were face to face. What makes you think I'm worse than trash, Naruto? My sensei. He frowned. He told us that those who break the rules are trash, but those who abandon their comrades are worse than trash. He growled. You're not just abandoning your comrades, you're abandoning your entire village. He growled. You're no better than Orochimaru. Naruto's eyes widened when he heard the table in front of his cracking. He looked down to see Tsunade's hands rip the table in half. He looked up with a terrified expression. I think we should take this outside, Naruto, she said with a dark, cold hiss. She calmly walked past the broken table and the boy, stepping outside. Naruto shakily followed, not willing to back down. Once outside, he saw Tsunade glaring at him. Naruto approached the female Sannin, putting on his bravest face. I won't take it back, he said, staring the blonde woman down. I'm nothing like Orochimaru, she hissed, beyond angry at the boy's comment. You may not have done all the bad things he did, but you're no better. You left the village, you refused to return for selfish reasons. You're practically betraying our village every second you're away. He frowned. You don't know what I've been through, she said, clenching her fists at her side. Naruto frowned, his fists clenching as well. I think I do. Flashback, Ero Sennin. How come your teammate isn't in the village? Is she on some sort of mission or something? Naruto asked, curious about this mystical woman. Not really. Tsunade chose to leave the village due to personal reasons. Jiraiya said with a frown. She just left? Wouldn't that make her a traitor? Naruto exclaimed. Not quite. She told Sarutobi-sensei that she was leaving, and he gave her permission to leave, as long as she sent a letter every year stating she was still alive. Jiraiya shrugged. Why did she leave? Naruto asked, looking up at the Sannin in wonder. 2 of her most precious people died. He said firmly. Naruto's eyes widened. Who were they? He asked softly. She lost her younger brother to the Second Shinobi War. Her lover, Dan, was also killed in the war. Tsunade did all she could to save him, but his wounds were too great. He said sadly. Naruto looked at his feet as he walked. She was running away from her problems. It's ironic, actually. Jiraiya stated. Naruto looked up, confused by the man's statement. Jiraiya chuckled. Both Nawaki and Dan wanted to be Hokage. Now, here we are, going to ask Tsunade to be Hokage. End flashback. You've been running away from Konoha, thinking it's going to solve all your problems. Naruto said, staring firmly at Tsunade. Tsunade's eyes widened slightly, surprised that the boy knew so much. But it shouldn't have surprised her, he was traveling with her old teammate, after all. The Sannin's ire grew, and her fists clenched tighter as blood slowly trickling down her palms from her nails punctured the skin. You know so much about me, Naruto. Tell me, what would you do if you were me? Naruto didn't flinch at the question. I'd become Hokage in their name. He said firmly. Her eyes widened and her hands unclenched. She sighed, softening her gaze slightly. It's not that easy, Naruto. It is for you. Here it is, this opportunity is falling into your lap, and you're brushing it off without a second thought. He snarled. Naruto clenched his fists by his sides, anger rising in him. You were practically born to be Hokage. Your great-grandpa and great-uncle were the first and second Hokage, and your sensei is the third. The universe is practically screaming for you to take up the position and you don't even give a fuck. Tsunade frowned, taking slow steps towards the blonde Jinchuriki, her fists clenching back up. Do you not care what happens to your people? All the people your family and sensei fought for? Don't you care about us? He cried, tears starting to form in his eyes. Tsunade stopped in front of Naruto, her fists shaking. You think you know me, Naruto, but you don't. Don't go messing into people's lives thinking you can change them. I won't step back into that village as long as I live. You're just going to have to accept that. She said, turning away from the boy. Naruto growled, baring his teeth in anger. He rushed towards Tsunade, rearing his fist back. Tsunade stopped and spun around. She glared at Naruto and held her hand out in front of her. She pressed her forefinger and thumb together, waiting for Naruto to get closer. When he was close enough, she flicked the boy on his Hitai 8, sending him hurling backwards. Naruto screamed as he bounced along the ground like a hurled ball. When he finally skidded to a stop, he struggled to sit up. Once he was in a sitting position, he gripped his forehead. Oh my god, that really hurt. Why didn't Ero Sennin tell me she was that fucking strong? Naruto cursed as he looked up towards Tsunade, tears of pain pricking his eyes. Naruto grunted as he stood up, swaying as he got to his feet. Is that all you got? He screamed. I've been hit harder than that. Tsunade smirked, placing her hand on her hip. I've got to say you got guts, Naruto-chan. Don't call me that. He frowned. Or what? What will you do? She said, cockily. Naruto smirked. He held out his hand, a Rasengan forming in his hand. I'll tear you to shreds, Bachan. Tsunade's eyes widened, staring at the blonde genin. He looks just like his father. Tsunade felt herself twitch. What did you just call me? She yelled. Aw. Don't like your new name, Bachan. He smirked. He rushed towards the Sannin, rearing his Rasengan back, ready to strike. Tsunade got into a ready stance, waiting for the attack to come. When Naruto outstretched his hand to attack, she sidestepped the younger blonde, grabbing his wrist as she moved. She spun around and threw Naruto over her shoulder, sending him flying backwards. Naruto skipped across the ground, his Rasengan dissipating. Naruto growled as he struggled to get to his hands and knees. What am I going to do? I can't convince her, and there's no way in hell I'll be able to defeat her. He watched as she approached him, and he broke out into a cold sweat. When she stood before him, she knelt down staring into Naruto's defiant blue eyes. I like your spirit, Naruto. You're so much like you parents, and I'm very glad to have met you. But please leave me alone. There are too many bad memories that are associated with that village. Naruto sighed, softening his gaze a little bit. Then please at least come back long enough to heal Hinata-chan. She's really important to me, and I want her to see her dream. Tsunade looked at the boy, raising an eyebrow. Oh? Would you do anything to see her dream come true? Anything. He said firmly. Then give up. She said bluntly. Naruto's eyes widened, staring at the older blonde with horror. What? I said give up. If you really want me to heal your friend, then give up your career as a ninja. She said firmly, staring into Naruto's eyes. Naruto groaned as he got to his feet. You know what, he ground out. You can go to hell. I'll never give up my dream. But I sure as hell won't give up on Hinata. I'll find another way to make sure she'll live out her dream without you. He said, moving past her. The nerve of this woman. Naruto. She said, straightening up. What? What could you possibly say now? Naruto growled, turning back towards the Sannin. When he looked at her, she had this look of a fierce determination. You're not as dumb as I thought, Naruto-chan. How about this? She said, placing a hand on her hip again. I'll go back to Konoha, but only to heal your friend and the others that were injured in the attack. However, I am not going back to be the Hokage. Understood? She said firmly. Naruto looked at the woman with a stone face. He wasn't sure what to do. On the one hand, she was coming back to heal Hinata, but alright Bachan. I guess we've come to an agreement. He sighed. We should probably find Ero Sennin. Let him know I found you. He shrugged. Tsunade nodded and followed the blonde. She stared at the boy in front of her with a sad expression. I can't let him know I've spoke with him. They'll never forgive me if I was thinking of helping him. Finding Jiraiya wasn't entirely difficult. He was found at the town's brothel, surrounded by the house's most beautiful and busty women. Tsunade, of course, dragged him out by his ear while Naruto laughed at the spectacle. Once they were out of the brothel, Tsunade released Jiraiya. You know Tsunade Jaime, if you wanted me for yourself, you should have just said so. He grumbled, rubbing his sore ear. What did you say, Jiraiya? Tsunade said in a dangerously low voice. Nothing. He said quickly. He straightened himself out, looking down at Naruto. Good job, brat. Now let's get going home. Sarutobi-sensei will be happy to know he can finally retire. Actually, about that, Ero Sennin, Naruto chuckled nervously. I'm not returning to Konoha as the Hokage. Tsunade stated bluntly. Only as a medic. Jiraiya blinked at his teammate's statement. He turned to Naruto with a frown. What the hell, kid? You were supposed to convince her to be Hokage. Naruto growled. Well, excuse me. Maybe you could have helped me with that, instead of being face deep in a dozen boobs. Hey! This is not my fault. Besides, beautiful women are just begging to be admired. Especially when they're as beautiful as the ones here. Jiraiya giggled with a blush. Naruto was about to retort. He yelped when he felt a fist hit the back of his head. He turned to yell at Tsunade, but saw she was hitting Jiraiya too. Alright. That's enough. Tsunade growled. I've promised Naruto that I would return to Konoha to heal his friend and the wounded. But I will not be Hokage, Jiraiya. Once my job is done, I'm leaving. Immediately. She said rigidly. Jiraiya sighed, straightening up and staring at the woman unmoving. Fine. But I want you to tell Sensei that. I will. He doesn't have a choice. Now enough talk. We need to get Shizune and let her know we're going back. Tsunade said, walking away from the two males. Naruto stood up and dusted himself off, looking up at his teacher. Who's Shizune? He asked Jiraiya as they followed the other Sannin. Unknown to them, a dark figure had emerged from the shadows. The figure removed the hood, revealing an older teenage boy with long gray hair and large, round glasses. I must report this to Orochimaru-sama. I can't believe we're going back to Konoha. Shizune exclaimed with joy. Shizune was a slender woman of average height, with fair skin. She had shoulder-length, straight, black hair with bangs and fringes that framed her face. She was wearing a blackish-blue kimono with a white trim, with the standard female shinobi heels. She was a very energetic woman, Naruto noticed, always striking up a conversation or playing with Tsunade's pet pig, Tauntaun. She and Naruto got along very well, both of them a ball of energy and endless conversation. I bet you're excited to see some of your old friends again, huh? Naruto smiled, looking up at the woman. Most of my friends are dead, Naruto-chan. She said with a sad smile. They died in the last great shinobi war. Naruto's eyes widened, his voice caught in his throat. I am so sorry. It's okay, Naruto-chan. You didn't know. She said with a softer, slightly happier smile. But I think I will visit their grave sites, along with Danji-san's grave while I'm home. She said thoughtfully. Naruto almost missed the slight falter in Tsunade's step. Bachan? Naruto asked curiously as he moved up beside Tsunade. Are you going to visit Dan's and Nawaki's graves while you're there, too? Tsunade's eyes widened, her body freezing in place. Naruto blinked, staring up at the woman. He stood in front of her and took her hand. I think you should. It would be a good way to give you closure. Sure, you won't be going back to the village after this, so it might be a good time to say your last goodbyes. He said softly. Tsunade sighed, a small smile appearing on her lips. Perhaps I should. I never said goodbye the last time I left, she sighed. Naruto smiled. That's good. I'm sure they'll love a visit. I know. You can get flowers from Ino's shop. Her family has a lot of pretty flowers. Naruto suggested, gently tugging on Tsunade's hand, trying to get her to move again. Jiraiya and Shizune's jaw dropped. Slow down, Naruto-chan. Tsunade scolded. We'll get there when we get there. I'm in no hurry to make it back to Konoha. She said with another sigh. This kid Naruto puffed out his cheeks with a pout, but stopped pulling on Tsunade's hand. The journey to Konoha lasted several days, which were filled with more talk and some training. Naruto attempted to learn some medical ninjutsu from Shizune, but quickly found out that his chakra weren't suitable for the job. Instead, Naruto continued to form Rasengan throughout the journey, finally mastering the technique as they drew close to the gates. We should see the gates any moment. Jiraiya said with a smile. The first thing we need to do is see Sarutobi-sensei. Oi! What about Hinata-chan? Naruto yelled. Don't worry, brat. We'll get to your girlfriend, but we have to report to Sarutobi-sensei first. The Toad Sage scowled. Naruto huffed, but relented. Fine, he pouted. Just like Jiraiya said, the gates appeared before them after a few minutes of walking. As the quartet walked through the gate, they were stopped by the gatekeepers, Kotetsu and Izumo. Stop. Please show identification. Kotetsu stated, standing up in his booth. Kotetsu-kun? Izumo-kun? Exclaimed a surprised Shizen. Do we, Shizen-chan? Izumo gasped. I can't believe it. I haven't seen you since you left Konoha. He gushed, hopping out of the check-in booth. Kotetsu jumped out as well, and the three shared hugs. How've you been, Shizen-chan? I've been well. I'm back for a little while to help heal the injured from the invasion. Shizen said with a small blush. Izumo smiled brightly, thanking Shizen for helping. His eyes wandered behind Shizen and gasped. T.S. Tsunade-sama. Izumo and Kotetsu stood at attention and bowed in respect. Welcome back to Konoha, Tsunade-sama. Kotetsu stated, still bowing. Thank you. We won't be staying long. Let's go. She stated bluntly, stepping through the gates. Shizen sighed, smiling to the two men. See you guys later, okay? Kotetsu nodded, smiling back. Alright. Bye Shizen-chan. Izumo nodded, and watched the quartet walk through the gates. Looks like Uzumaki actually managed to bring her back. I honestly didn't think he would. Kotetsu chuckled. It'll be nice to have Shizen-chan around again. Nah, Shizen-san. How do you know Izumo-san and Kotetsu-san? Naruto asked, looking up at the young woman. They were my old teammates. Shizen chuckled. We were a pretty efficient team, if I do say so myself. She boasted. If you call all the arguing you did efficient, then yes. You were very efficient. Tsunade teased. Shizen puffed out her cheeks in a pout. We didn't fight that much, she mumbled. You fought all day, every day. If I remember correctly, your sensei almost gave up on all of you. Tsunade snickered. Naruto pointed and laughed at Shizen. Oh my gosh. That's so bad. Naruto exclaimed with laughter. Shizen pouted at everyone, crossing her arms over her chest. He watched Izumo and Kotetsu bow, before returning to their post. Naruto blinked, walking behind the two powerful shinobi. He leaned closer to Shizen, speaking low to her. Nah, Shizen-san? How come everyone bows to them? I'm in theory not the daimyo or anything. Being a sannin isn't all that great, is it? Shizen chuckled. Tsunade-sama is technically considered a princess, considering who family. She nodded. Jiraiya-sama and Tsunade-sama, along with Orochimaru, she said the Snake Sannin's name with disgust before continuing, are viewed as the greatest shinobi of their time. They are all geniuses in their own right, as well. Naruto's eyes widened slightly. Is Ero Sennin a genius in perversion? He joked. Shizen desperately held back a laugh, but cleared her throat and continued speaking. Tsunade-sama is a genius in medical ninjutsu and chakra control. No one has surpassed her in the field yet. She said with pride. Jiraiya-sama is a genius in reconnaissance. His level of stealth and intelligence gathering doesn't compare to anyone. She nodded. Naruto's eyes widened again, turning and staring at Jiraiya. Well, I guess now I know why he's almost never caught when he's peeping at women. Shizen outright laughed, gently patting Naruto's back. You're so funny, Naruto-kun. He thanks. What about Orochimaru? Naruto asked with a frown. The silence that passed through the group was eerie and awkward. Shizen didn't speak at first. After a deep breath, she spoke. Orochimaru's a genius. He's very proficient in ninjutsu, kenjutsu, and fuinjutsu. He's also very strong, physically. While he's nowhere near Tsunade-sama's strength, he isn't one to be messed with. Shizun said carefully. Booty think his intelligence is what sets him apart from everyone else. Naruto blinked. What do you mean? Jiraiya decided to cut in. Let's just say he's too smart for his own good. He frowned. Naruto wanted to ask more, but decided against it. He figured if he pried too much, it wouldn't lead anywhere pleasant. The quartet reached the main part of the village where civilians and Shinboi were going about their daily lives. As they walked through, many shinobi and civilians stopped what they were doing to bow in respect. This went on, even when they entered the Hokage tower. After walking up to the Hokage's office, Jiraiya knocked and the group entered. Sarutobi-sensei. Jiraiya greeted with a bow. Tsunade. You've returned. The Hokage cried, wheeling himself around his desk. Tsunade's eyes widened, finally seeing her former teacher. He looked weak, a word she never would have used to describe her teacher. She finally saw him for the old man he truly was. She was brought out of her thoughts when she heard Jiraiya speak. Yeah, sure. Greet Tsunade instead of me. It's not like she's been gone for over a decade. He said with a playful pout, crossing his arms over his chest. Now Jiraiya. Don't be that way. Hiruzen chuckled. Tsunade. Shizun. It's good to have you back in the village. He said happily. Tsunade nodded slowly. Yeah, thanks sensei. She said quietly. Thank you very much, Hokage-sama. It's good to be back. Shizun bowed. And Naruto-kun. Hiruzen beamed. You've done such a wonderful job. I'll mark this as mission complete. The Hokage nodded. He thanks old man, Naruto smiled, rubbing the back of his head. I'm gonna go, okay? I wanna see Hinata-chan and Sasuke. He waved goodbye to the group and left the Hokage tower. Now that you've returned, Hiruzen stated, wheeling himself back behind his desk. We need to plan your coronation. He announced. I'm sure the village will be I'm not here to be Hokage. Tsunade said with a frown. Excuse me? Hiruzen asked, taken aback. I didn't come back to be Hokage. I came to heal your sick and wounded, then be on my way. She said quietly. Tsunade looked at her former teacher, as Hiruzen scrutinized her. Hiruzen sighed, looking at his former student. I see. Well then, I suppose I should tell the council of this decision. Tsunade, I understand you wish to leave, but why don't you stay for a little while? I plan on announcing the Chunin graduate next week. Tsuanda rolled her eyes, placing a hand on her hip. Why would I care about that? Don't you want to know if Naruto made Chunin? Hiruzen inquired. He smirked when he saw Tsuanda's eyes widen slightly. The old Hokage chuckled, smiling at the female Sannin. Just enjoy your time in Konoha, Tsunadeheim. You might find you like being back home. Tsunade scoffed, turning her back to the Hokage. I doubt that. With her final words, she left the old man's office. Hiruzen turned to Jiraiya, his expression giving away to his tiredness. Do you think she'll take the hat? Jiraiya chuckled. I dunno, old man. But I do know she's taken a strong liking to our favorite blonde ninja. His jolly demeanor faded, a dark expression taking over his face. Sensathir was someone following us when we found Tsunadeheim. Hiruzen frowned, leaning closer to Jiraiya. Do you know who? One of Orochimaru's subordinates. Jiraiya pulled out a sketch he drew of the Nin. He handed the paper over to the Hokage, who was instantly upset over the image. That's Kabuto. Hiruzen growled. He was such a promising genin, been in at past 7 Chunin exams. But never promoted? Jiraiya asked skeptically. That's pretty suspicious, sensei. Yes, his team always made it to the final round, but he would choose to bow out, something about low chakra. The Hokage frowned. He rubbed his chin, staring at the etching. Well, his chakra levels were through the roof. This kid is at least Jounin level, if not ANBU. I almost didn't notice him before we left for Konoha. If he's been living here, that's a huge problem. The white-haired Sannin frowned, a hand on his hip. Indeed. I'm declaring Kabuto a missing nin, with a capture on site order. Hiruzen sighed, pulling out a scroll to make an official order on Kabuto. Thank you, Jiraiya. You're dismissed. Jiraiya nodded, leaving the office with a solemn expression. I almost didn't realize that kid was following us. If he didn't flare his chakra at the last second, I never would have known. Did he want me to see him? What game are you playing, Orochimaru? Naruto stood in front of Hinata's hospital door, holding a bouquet of sunflowers in his hand. He took a deep breath, knocking on the white door. Come in. The blonde took another deep breath, opening the door. He stepped inside and smiled. Hey Hinata-chan. Naruto-kun. The brunette exclaimed, ecstatic to see the blonde. You're back. Naruto nodded, walking over to her bedside, handing her the bouquet. Yup. I'm back. And I brought Tsunade-chan back with me, too. He smiled, handing her the bouquet. These are for you, Hinata-chan. Hinata blushed, a wide smile appearing on her face. They're wonderful, Naruto-kun. Thank you so much. Naruto smiled, sitting on Hinata's hospital bed, being mindful of her. She's going to fix you right up, Hinata-chan. Then you can get better and be doing missions with Team 7 again. He said with his head slightly lowered. Hinata, feeling the guilt roll off of Naruto, reached over and gently placed her hand on top of his. It's not your fault, Naruto-kun. I don't blame you, and neither does anyone else. Ota-sama even told me he was grateful for you journeying to find Tsunade-sama to heal me. Naruto looked up at Hinata, scratching the back of his head with a blush. I didn't know what to say about that, just say thank you next time you see him. Naruto and Hinata turned to the door, seeing Tsunade leaning against the door frame. Tsunade pushed herself off the wall and walked to the Hyuga heiress. So this is your girlfriend? Tsunade smirked. Good choice, brat. She teased, ruffling his hair. Naruto squirmed away, his face glowing pink. Shut up. You sound like Ero Sennin. He exclaimed. What are you doing here, Bachan? Don't call me that, brat. Tsunade said, pinching his cheek. I'm here to evaluate your girlfriend. Naruto blushed again, giving the older woman a pout. Tsunade-sama, Hinata said softly, bowing her head at the older woman. Thank you so much for seeing me. Tsunade shrugged. No offense, but if it weren't for this pest, she pointed to Naruto. I wouldn't be here. The way it came out of her mouth sounded rude and condescending. But the teens shrugged it off. Now lay back. Tsunade instructed. Once the girl was on her back, the Sannin placed her hands above Hinata, her hands glowing green. Tsunade slowly moved her hands over the length of the girl's body, taking note of anything and everything that was asked you. After several long, tense moments, Tsunade stepped back, her hands returning to normal. You're very lucky, young lady. It won't be too difficult for me to fix you up. The medical staff here really need a good kick in the ass. They're shitty, even for Konoha's standards. Tsunade growled. She quickly cleared her throat, smiling at the Hyuga and blonde. Don't worry. I'll have you fixed up and ready to go in no time. Naruto's eyes widened, a smile spreading from ear to ear. You mean it? He exclaimed. Hinata bowed her head, tears appearing in her eyes. Thank you so much, Tsunade-sama. Tsunade laughed, waving them off. I'll schedule your surgery for tomorrow morning. If things go right, you'll be up and running in a couple of days. Hinata bowed her head and thanked the Sannin again as the woman left. I can't believe it. I'll be able to be a ninja again. Naruto smiled. I knew you would. Don't worry, Hinata-chan, everything will be okay. Naruto and Hinata talked the rest of the day, the blonde telling the brunette about his journey. Once his story was complete, he saw Hinata's eyes droop from exhaustion. He chuckled at the girl's action, taking her hands into his. I'll come by tomorrow, Hinata. I'll be waiting to see you after your surgery. Hinata smiled, squeezing the blonde's hand. Thank you, Naruto-kun, for everything. Naruto smiled back, returning the squeeze. He let go of the brunette's hand, and left her room. He couldn't help a large smile spread across his face. Hinata was getting the help she needed, and so were the other shinobi and civilians. Nothing could make this day any better. Tsunade finished her consultation with Hinata, and did some rounds in the hospital. She came across a room, where Konoha's copycat ninja was sitting solemnly. Well. Hatake Kakashi. Last time I saw you, you were barely a teenager. The Sannin smirked. Kakashi stood from his seated position, bowing to the woman. Tsunade-sama. Welcome back to Konoha. He was quiet, withdrawn. Tsunade raised an eyebrow, scanning the other occupants of the room. What are their stories? Her tone, blasé. Kakashi sighed, returning to his seat. Mato guy, Jounin. Konoha a sexy green beast, he said with a shiver. That name, Yuhi Kurenai, Jounin. Konoha's genjutsu mistress. He motioned to each body. They fell under the Tsukuyomi. Tsunade's eyes widened considerably. How long have they been unconscious? Week, maybe longer. I haven't really been keeping track, unfortunately. His eyes rested on Kurenai. I tried to protect them, but I failed. He couldn't reveal that Itachi was back, or that it was an accident on the older Uchiha's part. But he still felt that it was his fault for their predicament. I see. Tsunade lowered her head. She sighed, internally grumbling. I'll take it upon myself to see to their recovery. Don't worry, Kakashi. They'll be okay. Kakashi nodded. Thank you, Tsunade-sama. Tsunade left Kakashi to his depression, leaving his room, and the hospital altogether. After gathering herself several bottles of sake, she decided to something she never thought she would do in her life. She reached her destination, letting out a long sigh. I can't believe I'm doing this, she mumbled to herself, taking a few steps forward. She reached a large stone slab, standing 5 feet tall. She stared at the stone, reading all the names that had been carved into the dark mineral. Her eyes rested on a name that she was all too familiar with. Senju Nawaki. A small smile graced her lips, seeing her little brother's name. Her eyes traveled further down the stone, until they rested on another familiar name. Kato Dan. She sighed again, sitting in front of the stone, placing the bottles of sake on the ground. Hey you too, she started slowly. I'm back. She stated awkwardly. She took a bottle, and uncorked it. She brought the bottle to her lips and took a large swig of the alcoholic contents. I'm Yusuri, I haven't visited, but that doesn't mean I didn't think about you guys every day. She gave the stone a small smile. She didn't know why, but she almost felt like the two were smiling back at her. I don't know if you two know, but Sensei wants me to be Hokage. Can you believe that? Tsunade chuckled, downing more of her sake. Me. Hokage. She laughed. Of all the things they ask of me, it's to be Hokage. She brought her knees to her chest and hung her head, tears welling up in her eyes. It's almost like an insult. Tsunade remained silent, her head resting on her knees. But, she spoke up. There's this Kita brat, really. He kinda reminds me of you, Nawaki. He says I should take it. Not for myself, but for you guys. She shook her head, finish her first bottle of sake, pulling out a second. Can you believe that? She uncorked her second bottle, not saying anything for a while. She finished off her second bottle, starting on her third. Misa Hokage. As if, she sighed, staring at the memorial stone with a disheartened expression. I need your help, guys. What do I do? Take up the hat, or leave the village again? The silence she was met with didn't do much to ease her mind. With one final swig of sake, she stood up, placing a hand on the famed slab. It was good to see you guys again. Depending on how long I'll stay, I'll visit again. Her fingers lingered on the stone, slowly walking away from the stone. Hinata lay in her hospital bed, post-surgery. Tsunade stood beside her bed, with Hinata's father, Hayashi. Well, Hayashi, your daughter should make a full recovery. Tsunade smirked. Hayashi nodded, watching his sleeping daughter. Wonderful. Thank you very much, Tsunade-sama. He said, bowing to the Sannin. Don't worry about it. She'll go through some physical therapy for a week or so, then she should be able to return to training. Tsunade informed him. She heard the Hyuga head thank her again as she walked out the door. She walked through the halls of the hospital, her head held high. She had fulfilled her promise to the annoying blonde shinobi, now she could get the hell out of Dodge. As she continued her way through the hospital, she noticed her dutiful apprentice happily chatting with the nurses. Shizun. Tsunade called. Shizun turned, smiling. She bid goodbye to the nurses and walked to her master. What is it, Tsunade-sama? Finish what needs to be done here. I'm ready to leave this place. The Sannin sighed, resting a hand on her hip. Shizun's eyes widened. She stared at her mentor for a while before looking away from the powerful woman. Is it really time to leave? Shizun asked quietly. Yes, Shizun. Let's go. Tsunade huffed, walking past her subordinate. No. Tsunade stopped, turning to face the younger Kunoichi. Excuse me? I don't think I heard you correctly. Would you like to say that again? Tsunade challenged. I said no. Shizun stood firm. Tsunade-sama, this is the first time I've been back in the village in over 12 years. I miss my friends, I miss my home. And I'm doing a lot of work here in the hospital. I've already started training the staff on proper medical ninjutsu, I'm helping people. You're helping people. Shizun smiled. Tsunade stared at her apprentice with shock and awe. Shizun sounded so at peace with being here. We're able to do a lot of good here in Konoha. Traveling around, having to scam people, find a decent place to stay, gambling your way into bankruptcy, I am over it. Shizun said, her fists clenched by her side. We have an opportunity to have a home again, to do something good for our home. I'm not going to waste this opportunity. She said, putting her foot down. If you want to leave again, go ahead. But I won't follow. Not this time. Shizun turned away from her mentor, walking further into the hospital. Tsunade watched her apprentice leave, blown away by the younger woman's feelings. Was it really time to have a home again? To finally stop running? She sighed, walking out of the hospital. Bachan. Tsunade looked up, seeing a bright smile on Naruto's face as he rushed towards her. How'd Hinata-chan's surgery go? Is she okay? He asked, nervously. Tsunade sighed, placing a hand on the blonde's head. Everything went well, Naruto-chan. Your friend is resting now, and I suspect she'll be back on her feet in a few days. Naruto's eyes widened and his smile grew. Oh man. Bachanyori the best. Thank you so much for helping her. I owe you big time. He cheered. Tsunade chuckled, ruffling the blonde's hair. Don't worry about it, Naruto-chan. I was just doing my job. She bent over, kissing the top of Naruto's forehead. Naruto's cheeks flushed, looking up at the woman. Bachan? Run along, Naruto. I'm sure Hinata would want to see you when she wakes up. Tsunade smiled. Naruto nodded, running into the hospital. Tsunade sighed, watching the blonde run off. After a few moments, she sighed again. I must be out of my mind. Tsunade continued on her way, but with a destination in mind. She ignored all of the people around her, her destination the only thing on her mind. Making her way across town, she finally made it to the Hokage Tower. She walked up the long flight of stairs to the top of the building, where she took it upon herself to walk right into the Hokage's office. Fortunately, there was no one in the office aside from Hiruzen. Ah, Tsunade. Is there something I can do for you? He asked, folding his hands on his desk. Cut the crap, sensei. Tsunade frowned. You know why I'm here. So I do. He chuckled. So when would you like to have your coronation? A week passed since Tsunade decided to stay in Konoha. Her inauguration had gone off without a hitch, and the citizens of Konohagakure were adjusting well to her rule. She decided her old sensei should be her advisor. His knowledge about the job was beneficial to her. The new Godame Hokage sat in her office going over her first, real decision as Hokage. Chunin candidates. She heard from Hiruzen, as well as the proctors, who they believed should earn the promotion. She was also given input from several Jounin and Anbu who had witnessed the genin defend Konoha during the invasion. She read over the list, thinking long and hard on each name. As she read down the list, one name stuck out to her. Naruto, she mused, staring at the paper. The blonde had gone above and beyond the call of duty for any shinobi. Taking on a bijou was practically suicide, even if he was one, himself. He showed intelligence, bravery, and strength during the exam. Not to mention, he risked his neck to bring her back to Konoha. He has everything it takes to be a chunin. She smiled. She took a stamp, pressing it onto Naruto's genin file. Passed. The Sannin smiled again, looking back at the list of names. The next name was the initial reason she came back to the village, Hyuga Hinata. She had heard how well she performed during the exams, her fight against her cousin, learning a difficult clan jutsu, as well as going after Gaara. She wasn't sure though, if the girl was ready to be a chunin. Tsunade sighed, putting her file aside to decide later. She read over Shikamaru's file, deciding he'd proven himself competent enough to be a chunin. She pressed the passed stamp onto his file, putting it with Naruto's. She had gone over Shino's, Niji's, and the Suna siblings' files. She passed the older Hyuga, but chose not to pass Shino. The Aburame had not shown enough of his merit to be promoted. The Suna siblings were an obvious no. They were lucky they weren't in prison. She reported to Suna that she, along with Hiruzen, couldn't give their blessing for a promotion in good conscience. She recalled the meeting that she had with the councils to determine what to do about Oto and Suna. Flashback. Tsunade sat at the head of the council table, staring at the council members. Hiruzen was positioned just behind her, focused on the topic at hand. They should be executed. All of the Oto nin that have been captured are to be put to death. So should they. One civilian councillor shouted. Tsunade had considered imprisoning them. They had invaded Konoha, and Gaara had transformed into Shikaku. It was a sound punishment. I agree. Another councilman stated. Tsunade watched how most of the civilian council wanted to execute the Suna siblings. While it was true that many of the Otogakure shinobi were questioned for information, they were to be put to death. A lot of the Suna shinobi were questioned as well, and thrown in jail. I don't think that would be a wise decision. Orochimaru has been disguised as the Kazekage to dictate Suna. The oldest of the siblings, Temari I believe her name was, stated that her father was acting quite strange days before she and her brothers left for Konoha. Aburame Shibi stated. Logical as always, Shibi. Tsunade sighed. He had a point. Suna was their only ally, albeit a shaky one. Executing the late Kazekage's children, although warranted, could cause an even bigger war between the villages. Both Konoha and Suna couldn't deal with any kind of war. It shouldn't matter. A civilian counselor shouted. They unleashed a demon in Konoha. We're just lucky that there wasn't more damage. Tsunade couldn't deny that. There definitely could have been a lot more casualties and destruction than there was. It was one thing to be deceived into starting a war. But to bring a bijou to the battle and unleash it upon the village, was another. Tsunade bit her thumb, thinking hard on what to do. If I may. Hiruzen spoke up, wheeling up next to Tsunade. The council turned their attention to the former Hokage. I believe Shibi is right. The children were led to believe that it was their father, and village leader who was making this decision. Executing them would only cause more problems. I believe it would be better to send them home, but with required compensation. The old Hokage stated. Tsunade nodded, taking in every word. I think you're right, sensei. Besides, it wasn't against any law to bring a Jinchuriki to the Chunin exams. Hell, Naruto competed. His mother competed as well, when she was a container, herself. What kind of compensation should we ask for? Shikaku asked. Monetary compensation. A civilian counselor stated quickly. I believe that as well, Arata-san. However, Suna is already struggling financially. We would need more than just money. Hayashi stated, folding his arms across his chest. Tsunade nodded. I agree. In addition to a monetary compensation, I believe there is another way of payment. Sunagakure is famous for their glass making. I believe they should send all the glass we will need for repairs. They wouldn't have a lot of wood, like we have. But they would be able to give us cement and other metals for repairs. Most of the council nodded, agreeing with Tsunade. I believe there should still be some other kind of retribution. Everyone turned, seeing Danzo standing from his seat at the table. Danzo cleared his throat and continued speaking. While building material and money are good forms of compensation, I do not believe it is completely even. Tsunade smirked, folding her hands on the table. Well, it's a good thing I don't care what you think. Tsunade stood up, commanding everyone's attention. Send a scroll with Temari to bring to their council about our demands. Also, inform them that we will not be freeing any of their shinobi. If they have a problem with it, tell them to take it up with me. She smirked. Meeting adjourned. End flashback. Tsunade sighed, moving the trio's folders to the no pile. She picked up Lee's folder, looking through the boy's file. She shuddered at how ungodly similar he looked to his sensei. It was one thing to admire your sensei, but this was a whole different level. She read about his participation in the exams and the invasion. While she knew Lee was strong, despite his handicap, she didn't feel he was ready to be a Chunin yet. She came to the last file on her desk, Uchiha Sasuke. She knew she was going to promote him. He had not only done well in the exams, he also helped Naruto take down Shikaku. It also came to her attention that he had handled his encounter with the Akatsuki well. She stamped the boy's file with a past, turning back to Hinata's file. She read through it several times over, finally coming to her decision. Team 7 was at Training Ground 3, sparring against each other. With Hinata healed up and her physical therapy over, she was anxious to train again. It was a every man for himself type of spar, with them only be able to use taijutsu. Though, it bothered her that the boys were going easy on her. She could tell they were pulling punches, and not taking specific opportunities to take her out. It was frustrating, but she knew why. She was rusty and out of shape, due to being in the hospital for so long. Kakashi, who had been watching his student spar, stepped up and put an end to the spar. "Well, you're doing remarkably well for someone who had surgery recently, Hinata," he praised. "Thank you, Kakashi-sensei. But I'm not back to where I was. I need to train harder to get back into shape," she stated firmly. She blinked, feeling Kakashi place a gentle hand on her head. "Don't be too hard on yourself, Hinata. You're doing great." He nodded. "You too, as well," he commented, looking at the two boys. "I've noticed you've been pushing yourself harder than normal, Sasuke. Any particular reason why?" Sasuke shook his head, not giving his teacher a verbal answer. Kakashi gave Sasuke a look, turning to Naruto. "As for you, Naruto, I would suggest finessing your taijutsu. I know you studied the dragon style for your taijutsu forms, but you still fight like a brawler. It has to be one or the other," he instructed. Naruto nodded, sighing. "Yes, Kakashi-sensei. Good," he said with his signature, "I." Now Kakashi stopped talking when he saw an ANBU appear. "Can I help you?" "Hatake Kakashi. You are to report to Yugao-san," Naruto exclaimed, running up to the ANBU. "How are you, Yugao-san? Have you been keeping Hayate-san on his toes?" He winked. The ANBU chuckled, removing her cat mask. "Hello, Naruto. It's good to see you again. Hayate-kun is doing fine. Are you keeping out of trouble?" "You bet. I haven't pulled a single prank since I've become a ninja." He smirked, tapping his Hayate. "Who's this, Naruto-kun?" Hinata asked, walking up next to Naruto. "This is Yugao. She's an ANBU captain, and her team was sometimes sent out to find me when I pulled a prank," the blonde explained. Yugao nodded. "It's true. He outran my team several times. It was good exercise for them." She laughed. Sasuke blinked, walking up next to his teammate. "He outran an ANBU team?" Yugao nodded. "He did. Now, I'm here to relay a message. Kakashi-senpai, you and your team are to report to the Hokage Tower in 1 hour. Why does Hokage-sama need us, Yugao-san?" Hinata asked, a little confused. "Does Bachan have a super cool mission for us?" Naruto asked, bouncing on his toes with excitement. "Not quite. Though I'm sure you'll want to get there as soon as you can." She chuckled. "Why?" Sasuke frowned. "You want to know if you made Chunin, don't you?" She shoe-shined away with a smirk. Kakashi chuckled. 321. He watched his students take off towards the tower, obviously eager to hear the results. He chuckled again, walking at his own leisurely pace. Team 7, Shino, Shikamaru, Lee, and Niji stood in front of Tsunade's desk. All were focused on their current Hokage. All had their senseis standing behind them. The later 4 were also accompanied by their team. Hiruzen had joined the meeting as well, having himself stationed next to Tsunade's desk. What surprised everyone when they first arrived, was the fact that Kokwon was in the Hokage's office as well. Tsunade looked over each candidate, standing up as she did so. "I want to congratulate you all on making it to the final exam of this year's Chunin exams. I also want to personally thank all of you for your service to Konoha during the invasion." She started. She bowed her head to her shinobi, who all bowed in return. "I'd like to start off with you, Kokwon." Tsunade smiled, watching the young silver-haired girl step forward. "You have done a great service to Konoha, willing to give your life to protect Konohagakure, especially considering that you aren't affiliated with our village." She nodded. Kokwon nodded as well, looking up at the Godame. "For your service to Konohagakure no Sato, I hereby acknowledge you and welcome you to the ranks of our shinobi. I grant you the rank of genin. May you continue to serve and protect Konoha." She smiled, pulling out a Hitai 8 and handing it to Kokwon. "I'll give you your assigned team later." The young, silver-haired Kunoichi stepped forward, her eyes glazed over with tears. "Two don't know what to say." Kokwon reached out, taking the Hitai 8 in her hands. "Thank you, Hokage-sama. I won't let you down." She bowed low, and returned to her original place in line. "Now I am going to move on to you, Shikamaru." She could see his lip twitch. She smirked, knowing he wanted to say his famous catchphrase. He stepped forward, waiting for his critique. "During your match with Temari, you showed excellent judgment, and precise calculations during your match. You also showed great control over your family's jutsus. For this reason, you are being promoted to Chunin." She smiled, handing him a standard Konoha vest. Shikamaru sighed, shifting his weight to one side. "Do I have to?" He groaned. Asuma and Ino physically facepalmed. Chuji had a large smile on his face, happy for his best friend. "Oh my god, just take the damn vest, you lazy ass." Asuma grumbled out. Shikamaru sighed, taking the vest from the blonde Sannin. "Thank you, Tsunade-sama." He bowed, stepping back in line. "Aburame Shino, please step forward," she asked. As Shino stepped forward, Tsunade began her critique. "You demonstrated leadership skills and logical tactics during the exams, and that is commendable. It was unfortunate that we were unable to see your skills during the final exams. I cannot in good conscience promote you to Chunin. However, I believe that you are well on your way to being a strong shinobi. Train hard, and you could be promoted next exams." She nodded. Shino nodded, bowing to Tsunade. "Thank you, Hokage-sama. I shall take your critiques into account." He stepped back into line. Kurenai sighed, looking at her student. While many don't know Shino well, she did. She could tell that he was disappointed in himself. Kurenai stood a little straighter, determined to train her students even harder for the next exams. She looked towards her other students, seeing they looked just as disappointed as she felt. Kiba gave a sigh, scratching Akamaru's head as he whined. Sakura looked down in sadness, wringing her hands. She placed a hand on Sakura's shoulder, getting her attention. Sakura looked up at Kurenai, feeling down. Seeing her teacher's look of determination filled her with some of her own. She nodded, turning back towards the others. "Hyuga Niji. Step forward, please." After Niji had done as he was told, Tsunade continued. "Niji, throughout the exams you have shown a level of strength, stealth, and intelligence of one beyond your years. You have also shown that it is who you are that makes the shinobi. Not what situation you're born into." She smiled, giving him a knowing glance. "Congratulations, Niji. I hereby declare you an official Chunin of Konoha," Tsunade announced, handing the boy a vest. "Wosh!" Guy shouted. "One of my beautiful students has been promoted. The flames of youth burn brightly in you, Niji." Niji felt his face heat up with embarrassment, taking the vest. He bowed to Tsunade, thanking her. Tsunade saw Naruto practically bouncing to be called next. She smirked, turning to the Guy clone. "Rock Lee. Please step forward." She almost laughed seeing Naruto deflate. Lee stepped up, a face-splitting smile plastered on his face. He looked beyond excited to hear his results. "Lee, you have defied the odds, becoming a shinobi without any ninjutsu or genjutsu. You have done an excellent job during your exams. You and your team made it through the second exam rather quickly. You defeated your opponent in the preliminaries, as well as defeating Sasuke, here," she said, motioning to the Uchiha. She nearly snorted seeing the younger boy pout. Lee smiled brightly, standing even straighter. Booty feel you aren't quite mature enough to handle the responsibilities of a chunin. Tsunade said, somewhat solemnly. I believe you need more time to grow as a shinobi. Lee's eyes widened, looking down at his feet. His shoulders shook for a moment, before his head shot up, and he clenched his fists. Wosh. I will work harder, Tsunade-sama. Niji-kun, my eternal rival. I will surpass you one day. He joyously shouted. Tsunade gave a nervous chuckle. Yes, well, please step back, Lee. She sighed. She looked towards Team 7, giving them a soft smile. Team 7, the dream team. The Sannin smirked. I know you're dying to find out, so I'll start with you, Naruto. Yash! He exclaimed, stepping up to the Hokage. Naruto have gone above and beyond the call of duty for any shinobi. Your performance in the exams was a great display of your skills. Not only have you shown intelligence, maturity, and power on the battlefield, you faced off against Konoha's #1 traitor, as well as take on and defeat a Bijou. You also did something that many wouldn't do, show mercy. You demonstrated the will of fire. Something that sensei here believes in. She said, looking over her shoulder at Hiruzen. Tsunade saw him nod at her, and she nodded back. You have done a great service to Konohagakure. So it is my pleasure to award you the rank of Chunin. She smiled, handing him a vest. Naruto's eyes widened, staring at the vest. He took a small step forward and took the vest in his hands. Two did it. Naruto cheered, hugging the vest close to him. Thanks Tsunade-sama. He smiled, bowing to his Hokage. Tsunade sighed, giving the boy a smile. At least he can remember his manners when need be. She watched the boy step back, a huge smile on his face. Uchiha Sasuke. Please step forward. Once Sasuke had done so, she continued. Sasuke, you have faced many hardships in life, but have persevered through them. You have shown a lot of heart and talent throughout the Chunin exams. You also faced Orochimaru during the exams, and helped Naruto defeat Shikaku. For these reasons, you are hereby promoted to Chunin. She smiled, handing Sasuke a vest. Sasuke took the vest, bowing to his leader. Thank you, Hokage-sama. He stepped back. Naruto smiled at Sasuke, happy for his best friend. He blinked, seeing his friend had this puzzled expression. As he was about to ask Sasuke what was wrong, Hinata got called up. He looked forward, a bright smile plastered on his face. He'd ask Sasuke later, but now his girlfriend was going to get promoted and they'd all be Chunin together. Hinata. Tsunade smiled. You have grown into a remarkable kunoichi. Sarutobi-sensei and Kakashi told me all about your progress, during your time in the academy, your team on Team 7, and your participation during the Chunin exams. You've displayed tremendous skill and intelligence throughout the exams. You should be very proud of yourself. Hinata blushed, smiling at Tsunade's praise. Naruto's smile grew. She was getting promoted for sure. Booty can't promote you. Tsunade said with a sad frown. Hinata's eyes widened at the woman's statement. Naruto's eyes widened as well. He wanted to yell at Tsunade, Hinata deserved to be promoted along with him and Sasuke. He felt Kakashi's hand on his shoulder. Naruto looked up, his face red with anger. He saw his sensei shake his head in the negative. Naruto took in a deep breath and slowly let it out. There was a time and a place for everything, Hinata, you've grown into a beautiful, talented kunoichi. But I feel that you haven't tapped into your true potential. You can do so much more, and be something much greater than you are now. I feel that you aren't trying to reach these goals, you're settling for mediocrity. Hinata was listening to her Hokage with rapt attention. Was she settling? She agreed she had definitely improved her skill, but was she okay with just being standard? Was she not going out of her way to improve herself in other ways? She sighed, feeling disappointed in herself. She looked up at Tsunade, giving the woman a firm nod. Determination filled her with a new vigor. Tsunade-sama, thank you. She bowed. The blonde Hokage blinked, staring at the young brunette. She gave the girl a soft smile, nodding to her. Please, step back, Hinata. Hinata straightened up and stepped back to rejoin her team. Some of you might not have earned the title of Chunin, but don't despair. You have all done remarkably, and I look forward to seeing your continued growth. Now go, and make your village proud. Tsunade said with a firm voice. All the shinobi in the room nodded, bowing to their leader. Quickly, the teams all filed out. Tsunade sighed, sitting in her chair behind her desk. You did well, Tsunade. Hiruzen chuckled, wheeling himself next her. Thank you, sensei. She nodded. She looked at the stack of paperwork on her desk. She sighed, leaning back in her chair, staring up at the ceiling. What's wrong, Haim? Hiruzen asked, placing a hand on her shoulder. I know I did the right thing by not promoting Hinata, but you don't want Naruto to be mad at you. He chuckled. Don't worry, Tsunade. If there's one thing I know about Naruto, he doesn't hold a grudge. He'll understand, though it might take a little time. With a nod, Hiruzen wheeled himself out of the Hokage's office. Stupid Bachan. Naruto growled, shoving a piece of barbecue in his mouth. Team 7, along with Kokwon, had gone to a Kinniku-Q to celebrate. Naruto was so happy that he and Sasuke had made it to Chunin, but was beyond mad when Hinata wasn't promoted. Who does she think she is? She's the Hokage, Blondie. Kokwon said. Besides, I don't think you should be mad. Hinata isn't. The silver-haired girl pointed out. True to her word, Hinata wasn't angry. A little disappointed, but not mad. She looked up at her team, giving them a warm smile. I know I'm not a Chunin right now, but I'm going to train as hard as I can so I can catch up to you too. Hinata said, looking at her teammates with pride. She looked at Naruto, seeing that he still looked put out. Naruto-kun, don't be upset. Naruto sighed, staring at his plate of meat. I know I shouldn't be, but I can't help it. We should still be a team. Hinata giggled, placing a hand on top of Naruto's. We'll always be a team. Just because you and Sasuke-kun will be doing and leading higher-ranked missions, doesn't mean we aren't a team anymore. It just means that our time together is more precious. Naruto listened to Hinata's words, smiling. Yeah, you're right. Kakashi smiled at the couple, glad that Hinata was able to calm the blonde down. He turned towards the fourth member of Team 7, who was looking rather down. Is there something wrong with your food, Sasuke? Kakashi asked. Yeah, there's no need for you to be such a downer. Kokwon smirked, popping a piece of barbecue in her mouth. Sasuke sighed, putting his chopsticks down. Thanks for the meal, sensei. I'm not hungry anymore. Sasuke put his hands into her pockets, walking out of the restaurant. What the hell? Naruto frowned, standing up. I'll go. You three eat. Kokwon frowned, moving away from the restaurant. Thanks for the food, Kakashi-san. She called, racing after the Uchiha. Naruto blinked, looking at Hinata and Kakashi. What's going on? Kakashi frowned. I don't know, Naruto. But I think I need to have a little chat with someone. He gave a quick wave to his students and vanished in a puff of smoke. Oi! Don't leave us with the bill. Naruto yelled. Hinata laughed, gently patting Naruto on the shoulder. Are you even going to talk to me? Kokwon asked, walking behind Sasuke. She had caught up to the raven-haired boy, and tried to get him to talk to her, but he remained silent. Kokwon walked with the boy, all the way to the Uchiha compound to his favorite spot, the dock on the pond. The boy sat on the edge of the dock, staring out at the pond. Kokwon sighed, standing behind him. Are you going to tell me what's wrong? Sasuke sighed. Why did you follow me? Oh, he speaks. Kokwon huffed. Why do you think? You didn't say one word during lunch, didn't eat anything, then just left. Something's wrong with you, and you're going to tell me what it is. She frowned, crossing her arms over her chest. The boy sighed again, his focus still on the pond. After a bit of silence, he finally spoke. I don't deserve to be Chunin. Kokwon's eyes widened. Okay. That's not what I was expecting. She moved next to Sasuke, sitting beside him. Why do you say that? I'm weak. Kokwon rolled her eyes. No, you're not. You wouldn't have been promoted to Chunin if you were. But I am. He frowned. I was attacked by Orochimaru, I couldn't protect my team, and when I could, I was half psychotic on power. I got my ass handed to me by Lee, someone who can't do ninjutsu or genjutsu. I couldn't help Naruto as much as I would have liked against Gaara, and then the Akatsuki showed up, and I froze. Sasuke stood up, his fists clenched by his sides. It's like, I can't do anything anymore. Kokwon stood up, glaring at the young Uchiha. You really think that? You really think you can't do anything anymore? Though Kokwon didn't wait for a reply. She pulled her fist back, and her fist connected with Sasuke's cheek. The boy stumbled backwards, falling into the pond. Sasuke surfaced, spitting out water. What the hell, Kokwon? You're an idiot, you know? Yeah, you may have been attacked by Orochimaru, but you resisted his power. Do you know how many people can say that? There's only one other person besides us who has. And not only that, but you and your team actually put up a fight against that snake bastard. You actually gave him a hard time. Who can do that? That isn't a Sannin themselves. Kokwon cried. You mastered the Chidori. You might have lost to Lee, but he is 1 year your senior and a very strong shinobi, despite not having ninjutsu or genjutsu. She growled. You think you didn't help Naruto against Gaara? That's not what I heard. Naruto told me that he would have had a much harder time with Gaara if it wasn't for you, but you also saved Hinata. If it wasn't for you getting her out of his sand, Sweet Cheeks would have been hurt way worse than she was. Sasuke stared at Kokwon with wide eyes, keeping himself afloat in the water. Then with the whole Akatsuki thing, she sighed, lowering her gaze. You know you actually did the right thing. She murmured. She looked back up at him, keeping her gaze on him firm. Yeah, you ran. So what? You were going to tell the Hokage that a threat was in the village. And not only that, but if it wasn't for you, I would never have known there was a threat. You practically saved me, Sasuke. Kokwon screamed, her fists shaking at her sides. What you've done, what you've lived through, you're not weak, Sasuke. She said softly, her gaze still on the boy. You're strong. You're just too stupid to see it. Kokwon turned on her heel, stomping away from the young Uchiha. Sasuke, after Kokwon left, lifted himself out of the water. He ran a hand over his wet face, trying to make sense of what he had heard. I can't believe Kakashi-sensei left us with the bill, Naruto pouted, his arms crossed over his chest. He paid the hefty bill at a Kinniku-Q, leaving Gamachan much lighter. He and Hinata left the restaurant, walking to the Hyuga compound. Don't worry, Naruto. We'll make sure sensei pays you back. She smiled. So what are you going to do for the rest of the day, Naruto-kun? I think I might go train. I need to be ready for the new missions I'll be getting. He said happily. But his happiness quickly turned sour, remembering he wouldn't be doing missions with Hinata as much as they used to. Naruto-kun, please. I don't want you to be upset about this. I know you wanted me to get promoted, but it just wasn't mean to be. Not yet, anyways. We'll still do missions, and we'll still see each other. She nodded with a smile. Naruto nodded. Yeah, that's true. I'm just glad this isn't affecting our relationship. He smiled. Realizing what he said, his cheeks glowed a rosy pink. Hinata's face was pink, as well. She gently took Naruto's hand in her own, and the two walked hand in hand back to the complex. The rest of the walk was short, and the two remained hand in hand when they arrived. So, what are you going to do, Hinata-chan? The blonde asked. I think I may work on some new techniques. I also have some thinking to do. With you and Sasuke-kun doing missions, I'll need to find a use for my time when you two are away. She nodded. Naruto sighed. Yeah, that's true. Anyways, I'll see you tomorrow, Hinata-chan. The blonde leaned forward and kissed Hinata's cheek, and left with a wave. Hinata smiled, gently touching her cheek. Once Naruto was out of sight, Hinata jumped up onto one of the roofs of the compound, and took off back towards the village. She leapt from roof to roof, her eyes focused on her destination. She traveled by rooftop for several minutes, finally reaching the Hokage tower. She landed on the ground before it, walking into the building. She walked up the spiral stairs up to the Hokage's office, knocking on the door when she got there. Come in. Ranged Tsunade's voice. Hinata opened the door, stepping into the office. She softly closed the door behind her, walking up to Tsunade's desk. Hinata? Tsunade asked, giving the girl a surprised look. What can I do for you? I wanted to make a request, Hokage-sama. She said firmly, staring at the blonde woman. If this is about me not promoting you to Chunin, I am sorry. But I stand by my decision. Tsunade frowned, folding her hands in her lap. Hinata shook her head, her gaze focused on the Hokage. This isn't about my promotion, Hokage-sama. I want you to take me in as your apprentice. Team 7, reporting for duty. A loud, cheerful voice rang through the Hokage's office. Tsunade looked up from her desk, shaking her head in amusement. Barely 2 weeks as a Chunin, and you're asking for a mission? She chuckled. Besides, I believe I temporarily reassigned Hinata to Team Guy, due to the loss of their Byakugan user. She smirked. Naruto smiled, rubbing his nose cheekily. Well, all we've done is train, team training, separate training, and Chunin training for Team and I. There's only so much training I can do before I get bored. He got a serious look, regarding Hinata's reassignment. We're still Team 7, Bachan. Nothing will change that. He nodded. Besides, since the exams and bringing your ass back, we haven't had any decent missions. Sasuke nodded as well. It would be nice to have a decent mission again. Hinata nodded. I agree as well. It has been a while since we had a proper mission. Tsunade looked at Team 7 and sighed. Fine, fine. It's actually beneficial that you're so gung-ho on taking missions. Since the invasion and the appearance of the Akatsuki in Konoha, we need to put on a front. Many of our Jounin and ANBU are taking many of our A and S ranked missions. So that leaves a lot of C and B rank missions behind. Even our higher-up Chunin are taking more missions. So we need all hands on deck. She said with a serious tone. We understand, Bachan. Naruto nodded, his team nodding as well. Good. The Hokage smiled. She pulled out a mission scroll, holding it out to the team. This is a high C to low B rank mission in Takigakure. Tsunade started as Hinata took the scroll. The village leader, Shibuki, has requested our help. He fears that the village's most valued treasure is being targeted. She said, folding her hands on her desk. Naruto blinked, staring at the scroll. What's their treasure? Gold? Jewels? The blonde asked, his eyes sparkling at the ideas of treasure. Tsunade rolled her eyes. The mission request didn't specify what it was. You'll find out once you get there. If there's some valuable treasure that needs protecting, wouldn't it be more suited for a Jounin team? Sasuke asked, stepping forward. Hinata stepped up as well, voicing her opinion. I agree with Sasuke-kun, Shursho. If this treasure is the most valuable of the village, wouldn't the village want a team that has more experience? Shursho? Naruto asked, blinking at his girlfriend. Hinata blushed, nodding. I asked Tsunade-sama to make me her apprentice. I've been interested in medical ninjutsu for a little while, making my own healing salves, and seeing what plants can be used for medicinal purposes. I figured if you and Sasuke-kun are going to be doing assignments that I can't do, then I should do something to better myself. She nodded. Tsunade-sama agreed, so I'm training under her now. Both Naruto and Sasuke's eyes widened. Naruto smiled, placing a hand on Hinata's shoulder. Well, congratulations. After the mission, I'm taking you to get some celebratory cinnamon buns. Naruto beamed. Hinata giggled. Alright. She turned back toward Tsunade. How long will the mission last, Tsunade Shursho? I'm not sure. I would pack for a several-week-long mission. She nodded. Tsunade turned toward Sasuke. Sasuke, you'll be the team leader for this mission. Sasuke's eyes widened slightly, while Naruto pouted. You want me to lead? Tsunade nodded. I think you'll do a fine job, Sasuke. Thank you, Hokage-sama. They three of them bowed and left the Hokage tower. Once outside, Sasuke turned to his teammates. Go and pack, then meet at the gates in 2 hours. The teammates nodded at each other, leaving for their respective homes. Naruto went straight to his apartment to pack. When he arrived, he changed into mission's clothes. He opted to not wear his standard mission clothes with the custom trench vest. Instead, we chose to wear a 3/4 sleeve mesh undershirt, a black high-collar shirt, with the collar open. He had on black pants that were bound with white bandages at his calves. He put on his black shinobi sandals and tied his hitai around his forehead. To complete his look, he put his new Chunin vest on, leaving it unzipped. Once changed, he immediately packed the essentials: kunai, shuriken, wire, spare clothes, tent, sleeping bag, water, ration bars, and the all-important instant ramen. As he was packing his things into his travel pack, he heard a familiar voice at his window. Hey, brat! Naruto turned, seeing Jiraiya sitting on his window sill. Ero-sennin? What are you doing here? What? I can't come and see how my favorite godson is doing? He smirked, crossing his arms over his chest. Seeing Naruto giving him a look, Jiraiya chuckled, waving at Naruto. Alright, alright. I actually have something for you. He chuckled, pulling out a wrapped, rectangular box. Congrats on making Chunin, brat. Naruto's eyes widened. Whoa. No way. Thanks, Ero-sennin. Naruto beamed, tearing into the present. He opened the box, pulling out 4 books and an writing set. What's this? He said, pulling out each a book. Fuinjutsu for Beginners, by Jiraiya. You gave me your own books? Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. A little narcissistic, don't you think? Jiraiya rolled his eyes. Oh, can it, you brat. Your father was a Fuinjutsu master, as well as the Uzumaki clan. I figured it's time you start learning. He said, crossing his arms. Naruto pulled out each book, reading the titles: Fuinjutsu for Beginners Volume 1, Fuinjutsu for Beginners Volume 2, and Fuinjutsu for Beginners Volume 3. There's 3 books just for beginners? You bet. Fuinjutsu is notoriously difficult to learn. You need to know the ins and outs of seals before you can start making your own. He explained. The last book should help you the most. Naruto pulled out the last book, reading the title. How to improve your handwriting. What the hell, Erosenin? Fuinjutsu requires precision. Any imperfections in the seal could cause it to go seriously wrong. He explained. The first thing you're going to do is practice your handwriting. When you come back from your mission, I want to see your improvement. And if it's up to my standards, then I'll start training you in Fuinjutsu. Jiraiya said proudly. Naruto smiled. Alright. It should be fun. Oh. I almost forgot. When I get back from this mission, I think it's time to work on my Kyuubi training. I've got the hang of his chakra, but now I need to take it to the next level. Jiraiya rubbed his chin thoughtfully, taking in Naruto's words. Alright. Let me think on what I can do, okay? Naruto nodded. Alright, well, I have to get ready for my mission. I'll see you later, Erosenin. He smiled. Jiraiya smirked, rubbing Naruto's head. See ya soon, brat. Jiraiya saluted his godson, hopping out of the window. Naruto smiled, finishing his packing, putting the handwriting book and writing set in his backpack for later. You think it wise to start on another project, when you have yet to truly start your training with my power? Kyuubi growled to Naruto. Well, I'll be honest, I need Erosenin around to train with your power. I mean, I made some decent progress on my own, but I need his help. Naruto said to the fox, closing his traveling pack. I guess I shouldn't argue with your logic. I agree, if you are to continue with the training, you need the pervert. What do you expect is going to happen on this mission? I mean, we're supposed to be protecting a treasure. He exclaimed to his tenant. The fox gave a low growl. I have a strange feeling about this mission. I think there's more to it than meets the eye. Naruto nodded. I'll stay alert, and make sure nothing will take me by surprise. Smart. Naruto put on his pack, and walked downstairs to the building office, paying a few months' rent in advance just in case the mission took longer than expected. The building manager happily pocketed the money, though he gave Naruto the stink eye as he left. The blonde rolled his eyes, some people never change. Deciding he still had time, he made a final pit stop at Ichiraku's. He wanted to tell the Ichirakus that he was leaving, and he didn't want to leave on an empty stomach. The walk to his favorite restaurant took little time. He walked up to his usual seat, sitting down with a smile. Hey, old man. Tsuchi turned, seeing his favorite regular. Hey, Naruto. You want the usual? Of course. He chuckled. As Naruto was waiting for his food, he recognized Team 8 as approached the stand. Hey guys. He waved. Team 8 took their seats next to Naruto, Kiba giving the blonde a high five. What's up, Whiskers? Nice new duds. Kiba smirked. Thanks. I'm grabbing one last bite before I head out on a mission. How are you guys? Get any good missions since the promotions? He asked, curiously. We have had adequate missions. Why, you may ask? Due to Kurenai-sensei doing more missions, we have been doing more C-ranked missions as of late. Shino stated, facing the counter. Naruto chuckled. Same ol' Shino. He laughed, clapping the Aburame on the back. Formal as ever. How about you two? Doing good? Of course we're doing good. Kiba smiled, Akamaru giving a happy bark. We've all been training like crazy too, since the invasion. Ain't that right, Sakura? Sakura nodded, looking away from the menu. Yeah. Kurenai-sensei has been giving me a lot of new genjutsus to learn. She also thinks I should sign up for the medical program that they'll be doing at the hospital. She said with my chakra control I could be a good medical nin. She said, happily. Sakura had definitely learned the hard way what it was to be a shinobi. Being a ninja wasn't all fun and games, it was a kill or be killed world. Ever since the Forest of Death, Sakura had shaped up and intensified her training. She started following in her sensei's footsteps and took up the art of genjutsu. She had also ditched her ridiculous diet, and even changed her outfit. She no longer wore the childish Kapoa dress with the green spandex shorts. She now wore a sleeveless, crimson Chinese-style shirt, with the Haruno circle on the back. She had a beige obi around her waist with her pouch attached to the obi. She also had on black shorts and black ninja sandals. Naruto smiled, looking at the pink-haired kunoichi, giving her a thumbs up. That's awesome, Sakura. Hinata-chan is studying medical ninjutsu, too. She's Tsunadeba-chan's new apprentice. He said with pride. Sakura's eyes widened. No way. How did she do that? As Naruto continued his conversation with Team 8, his ramen had arrived and the others ordered. So, Whiskers, what mission are you going on? Kiba asked, resting his face against his hand. Naruto slurped up some noodles, wiping his mouth of any dribbles. We're headed towards Takigakure, he said, turning back to his bowl. The mission wasn't confidential, but he didn't feel like they needed to know that they were going to be guarding treasure. Come on, Naruto. You've got to give us more than that. Kiba whined as his food was placed in front of him. Nope. The blonde said, cheerfully. He quickly finished his bowl, putting money on the counter. Thanks, old man. He called out. It was good seeing you guys. See ya around. He waved, walking towards the gate. As he approached, he saw Hinata and Sasuke already there. Naruto blinked, seeing Sasuke wearing the standard Konoha uniform. You're wearing the uniform? Sasuke shrugged. If I'm leading this mission, should look the part. Naruto held back a snort, looking at Hinata. He saw her in her mission clothes, the ones she got from Ueo's. He always liked the dress, he thought it flattered her. Hinata smiled. Are you ready to go, Naruto-kun? Naruto nodded, grinning at his friends. Yup. Lead the way, Sasuke. He smirked, saluting to his friend. Sasuke frowned, bopping Naruto on the head. Knock it off, dobe. This is serious. Naruto yelped, staring at Sasuke with a raised eyebrow. What's up with you? Ever since we got our promotions, you've been acting weird. No, I haven't. This is our first real mission as Chunin, and it's an important one. I just want you to take this seriously. The raven-haired boy frowned, crossing his arms over his chest. Now, let's get going. Naruto turned to Hinata, who shrugged at him. Looks like she knew just as much as he did. The blonde sighed, walking behind his teammates. They showed their identification and mission scroll to Izumo and Kotetsu, who were on gate duty. Good luck, Team 7. Kotetsu smirked, giving a thumbs up. We look forward to your return. Izumo smiled with a wave. Team 7 nodded to the guards, leaping into the trees, heading to Takigakure. Team 7 had a routine during the trip to Takigakure: travel for several hours, take a 15-minute break, travel for several more hours, 15-minute break, more traveling, set up camp at dusk. While they traveled to Takigakure, Team 7 continued with their own personal training. Naruto dived into studying Fuinjutsu, starting with his handwriting and reading the first book of the series Jiraiya gave him. Hinata continued to study her medical scrolls, studying many different kinds of medicinal plants and herbs, as well as poisons and venoms for antidotes and painkillers. Sasuke continued to study his kenjutsu scrolls and forms, practicing his katas and stances that he had learned. It took Team 7 4 days to reach the outskirts of Takigakure. They walked side by side, observing their surroundings. We should be seeing some Taki Shinobi soon. Hinata said, looking forward. They'll be able to lead us into Takigakure. Sasuke nodded. Keep a sharp eye. We don't want to be accidentally attacked because we are unfamiliar with -ahhh. The trio jumped in surprise, rushing towards the scream. They came across a man kneeling on the ground, his hands covering his head. Team 7 looked at each other, confused. Why was he cowering? Naruto walked over to the man, placing a hand on his shoulder. Hey, AR-Aia. The man screamed, scooting backwards. He looked at Naruto, his body shaking with fear. Are you okay? Naruto asked, still confused by the man. We heard a scream, and came to see what happened. Were you the one who screamed? Hinata asked, looking concerned for the man. The man had long, dark brown hair and inky black eyes. He wore a Takigakure Hitai that was partially covered by his bangs. He was wearing gray pants, a green shirt, and Shinobi sandals. In addition to his outfit, he has gray shoulder pad on his left shoulder with a brown strap over his shirt. The man stood up, bowing to Team 7. Yes. I'm sorry. I was startled by a bird, then by you. _ The Takigakure ninja aren't too keen on sneaking around, are they? Team 7 looked at each other again. This man was scared by a bird? We are the Konoha shinobi that were hired by Taki. Could you escort us into the village so we can speak with your leader? Sasuke asked. The man stood up straighter, looking a bit more serious. I'm glad Konoha was so prompt in sending shinobi. My name is Shibuki, leader of Takigakure. Team 7's eyes widened, and they all bowed to Shibuki. Shibuki-sama, my name is Uchiha Sasuke. These are my teammates Hyuga Hinata, and Uzumaki Naruto. It's a pleasure to meet you all. Let us head into the village and I shall brief you on your mission. Shibuki nodded. The three followed Shibuki towards the entrance of the village. The trek into the village was rather nerve-wracking. Shibuki would scream at any movement in the forest. If a shrub wiggled or a bird flew from a tree, he would scream and cower in fear. Of course, this only caused Team 7 to panic and draw their weapons, thinking they were in real danger. By the time they reached the entrance, all of their nerves were shot. Sasuke looked practically murderous, ready to choke Shibuki if he screamed again. Shibuki led Team 7 out of a cave hidden behind a large waterfall. They stepped around the waterfall, coming upon a rather luscious land, with a large tree in the center of the village. Welcome to Takigakure. Come, my home is not far from here. He nodded, walking down a path along the cliffside that led to the village. Once they reached the leader's house, the four of them gathered around a formal kotatsu star. There were several zabuton asterisk around the table, where they all sat. Hinata was in a tradition Saiza asterisk position, while the men sat cross-legged. First and foremost, I want to thank you for accepting this mission. You see, there has been rumors that our most prized treasure is under threat. Shibuki frowned. So I went to your village requesting support. If I may ask, what rank are you? Chunin. Naruto and Sasuke said, while Hinata muttered her status of genin. Shibuki's eyes widened marginally. Isis Konoha sending backup? Team 7 looked at each other for a moment. Should they? Sasuke asked, raising an eyebrow at the village leader. Shibuki was panic-stricken. This can't be happening. I thought they'd send a jounin team. Not some children. He grabbed his head, his body shaking with fear. Naruto frowned, clenching his fists in his lap. Oh yeah? You're talking to Uzumaki Naruto, future Hokage of Konohagakure. If you don't want our help, then we'll just leave. Find someone else to help guard your so-called treasure. He scoffed, standing up. No. Wait. Shibuki yelled, reaching out towards the Konoha shinobi. Forgive me. Shibuki said quietly, looking into his lap. You see, someone very powerful is after the village's treasure. What's your treasure? Sasuke asked, wanting more information on the subject. It's called the hero water. The hero water is a special kind of water that once the user drinks it, their chakra is increased exponentially. Shibuki explained. However, there's a serious drawback to the hero water. What would that be, Shibuki-sama? Hinata asked. The hero's water severely depletes your lifespan. The leader said solemnly. My father, a previous leader, drank the hero water to protect the village from foreign powers. He died soon after drinking the water and the threat was eliminated. Shibuki's eyes glistened over with unshed tears. It's clear why you asked for assistance. Sasuke stated. With the power that comes from the hero water, you could potentially do significant damage to the village. Exactly. And it's not just the hero water that needs to be protected. The young leader continued. What do you mean? Naruto blinked. Is there another treasure? Not necessarily. He sighed. Kit. I feel someone approaching. Shibuki-sama. I heard you've returned. Oh. I didn't realize you had guests. A young, feminine voice spoke. A petite girl stood in the doorway, looking at the group. Oh, hello Fu. Fu, these are the Konoha shinobi I hired to help us. He smiled, motioning towards Team 7. Fu bowed to Team 7. Thank you for helping us. Kit. She's a Jinchuriki. What? Which one? She holds the seven-tailed Nanabi, a giant rhinoceros beetle. Naruto stared at the green-haired girl, a small frown starting to form. If she was the other thing they were supposed to protect, things just got a lot more complicated. Night fell over Takigakure, everything was peaceful. Naruto sat in his room, reading his Fuinjutsu book with little interest. Putting his book down in front of him, his thoughts drifted to the young girl he met earlier. It makes so much sense using the hero water as a cover to protect Fu. Do you think the Akatsuki are after her? I mean, that girl and Shark Face were after me. But why would they hire fresh Chunin for the job? This is Jounin level at least if the Akatsuki are involved. Naruto frowned, running a hand through his hair. The situation was seriously stressing him out, and he considered writing to Tsunade-bachan, to report his findings. I don't think the Akatsuki are after her. I believe Shibuki genuinely wants you to protect the hero water, but that girl is also in danger. If the threat knows of her Jinchuriki status, it could pose as a major problem. Kyubi explained. I know. I'm just nervous, I guess. It's one thing when it's Jinchuriku versus Jinchuriki, it's another to try and protect one, right? There is a crazy organization out to get us, and not too many people genuinely care for us. I'd bet my entire life savings that she was treated poorly, just like me and Gaara. He told the bijou. He sighed, grabbing at his hair with both hands. This sucks. The blonde sighed, draping an arm over his eyes. Naruto jolted upward, hearing a knock on the door. He stood up, making his way across the room. Thinking it was Hinata, he opened the door with a bright smile. His smile faltered slightly, seeing a different girl in front of him. Fu? Hey. The mint-haired girl mumbled, shifting from foot to foot. Listen, I know this sounds weird, but you give me this weird feeling. Her face was a bright red as she avoided looking into Naruto's eyes. Naruto's eyes widened, putting a hand on the back of his head. Well, I'm flattered Fu, but I have a girlfriend. Not like that, you dobe. Fu exclaimed, scowling up at the boy. I'm talking about you know. She said pointing to her stomach. Naruto nodded. Come on in. He moved aside. Once Fu was inside, he closed the door and sat down in front of the female Jinchuriki. What can I do for you? Well, Komi was telling me you're a Jinchuriki, like me. She smiled brightly. So, since you're like me, we should be friends. The blonde stared at the girl, her eyes filled with earnest. He chuckled, giving the girl a bright smile. Sure. I'm friends with another Jinchuriki too. He's the one-tailed tanuki. Fu's eyes widened, gasping with excitement. Really? Do you think he'll be friends with me, too? Naruto laughed. Possibly. He's a bit more subdued than you or me, but he's cool. The male Jinchuriki reached over and ruffled the girl's hair. Kit, tell her about the Akatsuki. She needs to be on guard. Kyubi stated. Fu, there's something serious I need to talk to you about. Oh poo. That's no fun. She grumbled, crossing her arms over her chest. Fu, have you started training to be a shinobi? Naruto asked, staring at the young girl. The blonde figured she was only a little younger than he was, maybe 2 years younger. Yup. I'm in Taki's academy right now. I'm one of the best students, though my teachers don't like me. No one really likes me at school, now that I think about it. She said, tapping her cheek with her finger. Just like me. Naruto frowned. Only you weren't good at school. You had to have Hinata help you almost the entire time. Kyubi smirked. Shut up. Baka Kitsune. Regaining some composure, Naruto cleared his throat and continued his conversation with Fu. Fu, I know your teachers are trying to fail you, and things can be pretty nasty at school, but I need you to do me one big favor. What's that, Ni-san? She smiled. I need you to train as hard as you possibly can. Well duh. I know that. I won't be a good kunoichi otherwise. Fu laughed. She looked at the boy, seeing his face was still serious. Why would you ask me that, Ni-san? Naruto sat up straighter, his expression never changing. There is this group, called the Akatsuki. They're after us, Fu. You, me, and all the other bijou out there. Fu's eyes widened, realizing the seriousness of the situation. Why are they trying to capture us? I don't know yet, but they're extremely dangerous. I've met a few of them already. It wasn't a pleasant encounter. They're made up of very dangerous missing nin, and they wear black coats with red clouds. If you happen to run into any of them, do not fight them. They'll bat you around like a cat with yarn. Naruto said, looking down at his lap, angrily. So if you meet them, run. Okay? Fu nodded. Okay. Thanks for warning me, Ni-san. The girl giggled a little, looking up at Naruto. You know, Chomei said you would be mean and nasty, because the Kyubi is mean and nasty. Naruto's eyes widened. Hey! I'm awesome. I'm nothing like that old furball. I swear, I will eat you. Kyubi growled. Naruto smirked, straightening up. So, study up and train hard, Fu-chan. And keep a constant vigilance. He chuckled, rubbing the top of the girl's head. I will, Ni-san. I promise. She beamed with determination. Alright, I'm going to go grab dinner. See you later, Ni-san. The mint-haired girl exclaimed, rushing out of the room. Naruto chuckled, watching the girl sprint off towards her food. He turned back to his bed, hoping he could now concentrate on his book. The next morning, Shibuki led the 3 shinobi to where the hero water was stored. Alright, this is it. Shibuki smiled, showing a small building to the Konoha shinobi. The building was similar to a shrine a monk would inhabit. The hero water is inside. Turning to Team 7, the older man gave the team a nervous smile. So how are you going to protect it? We shall be taking shifts guarding the shrine. Sasuke started. Also, Naruto, you will create clones that will continuously run the parameter, and make sure we don't have any enemy shinobi trying to enter the village. Naruto nodded, using his signature jutsu to create 20 clones. As Naruto gave instructions to his clones, Hinata stepped forward to Shibuki. Shibuki-sama, do you have any idea who might be after the hero water? If we know who our enemy is, we would be better prepared to combat them. Shibuki nodded, handing Hinata a letter. I received this not long before I requested aid from Konoha. This letter is written by a former jounin named Suein. Suein went rogue from Takigakure years ago, taking several followers with him. He has since created a following with a group of bandits and thugs. Though I think he uses them for petty crime, more than anything else. He said with a sigh. How well do you know Suein? Sasuke asked, stepping forwards as well. Shibuki sighed again, looking crestfallen. He was my teacher. Sasuke nodded. So this is personal. Yes. He wanted to be the leader of Takigakure. When he wasn't chosen to be leader, he defected. Now he is coming back with a vengeance. Shibuki shivered with fear. Hinata looked over the letter, frowning at the words. I don't believe Suein will be alone. It wouldn't surprise me if he brought reinforcements. Bandits and run-of-the-mill thugs aren't a big deal. They're easy pickings compared to a shinobi. Especially if said shinobi is a jounin. Naruto/explained. I don't believe it will be his gang, Naruto-kun. Hinata said, handing the blonde the letter. Suein stated that he would be bringing enough muscle to destroy Takigakure. Do you know if anyone in his group has that kind of power? Hinata asked the leader. Shibuki, whose knees were still shaking, shook his head. 2 Chunin followed him out of Taki, and his thugs aren't that powerful. They mostly terrorize merchants on the road, and take what money and goods they can find. Sasuke frowned. That means he has hired help. Perhaps someone with a grudge against Takigakure. Are there any other shinobi from here that would have a grudge against you or the village? The leader shook his head. No, the ones who had grudges are long dead. Shibuki rubbed the back of his head. I'm sorry I'm not much help. I wish I could do more for you, and my village. Naruto smiled. It's alright, Shibuki-sama. We'll protect the hero's water and your village. Shibuki nodded, leaving the Konoha shinobi to their work. Sasuke sighed, turning to his companions. Hinata will take the morning shift, I'll take the afternoon shift, and Naruto, the night shift. Sasuke instructed. Dobe, come spar with me. The blonde chuckled, nodded. Sure thing, team. He moved next to Hinata, giving her a kiss on the cheek. See ya later, Hinata-chan. Several hours passed since the 2 teammates went for a spar. They boys were both covered in sweat, bent over, panting with exhaustion. Alright Sasuke. I think that's enough for today. Naruto said, straightening up. No. I can still go. Sasuke ground out, wiping the sweat from his brow. Are you serious? You look like you're about to fall over. I'm about to fall over, and I have more stamina than half of Konoha combined. The blonde argued. Let's get some food and take a break. No. I can keep going. Sasuke yelled back, rushing towards the blonde, ready to throw a punch. Naruto dodged the tired teen, watching the black-haired boy stumble. Sasuke, seriously. You need to rest. You're just as tired as I am. No. I have to keep going. He screamed. Why? Why do you have to keep going? Naruto hollered back. Because I'm not strong enough. Naruto stopped, looking at his friend with a concerned expression. Sasuke, you are dash. No, I'm not. Sasuke's shoulders sagged with defeat. I wasn't strong enough to help with Gaara, I wasn't strong enough against the Akatsuki, and I'm not strong enough now. Sasuke's eyes widened, falling to his knees, grunting in pain. Sasuke. Naruto gasped, rushing to his friend's side. He saw Sasuke gripping his shoulder, he grabbed the boy's Chunin vest and yanked it away. He pulled on the boy's shirt collar, revealing the curse mark. Naruto's eyes widened, seeing the mark pulsate and slowly grow. Sasuke curse mark. Sasuke grit his teeth, waiting for the pain to subside. It's been getting more and more painful. I have to get stronger to fight the pain. Naruto knelt down, putting a comforting hand on Sasuke's unmarked shoulder. Sasuke's mark is reacting to your emotions. You can't get worked up like this. If you do, the curse mark will take over. I know. But Sasuke grunted in pain, clenching his teeth. Naruto looked at his friend, concerned for his well-being. Listen, Sasuke. Why don't we talk to Kakashi-sensei when we get back? He might have an idea of what to do. Ero Sennin and Bachan might be able to help too. They were that bastard's teammate. Besides, Ero Sennin is a seal master, and Bachan is the world's best medic. They might be able to come up with something. Naruto explained, trying to keep his voice calm as to not provoke Sasuke or the curse. Sasuke sighed, forcing himself to calm down. After taking some deep breaths, the curse mark receded and stopped pulsing. Sasuke stood up, feeling exhausted. All right. Listen, I'm going to go rest. The raven-haired boy said, leaving Naruto in the training field. Naruto stood alone in the field for a few moments, watching his friend leave. Naruto pulled out several blank scrolls, writing a message in each one. Naruto bit his thumb, and performed a few hand signs. Kuchios no Jutsu. Slamming his hand on the ground, a small little toad in front of Naruto. Yo. What's up, boss? Gamakichi smiled, saluting Naruto. Hey, Kichi. I need you to deliver some messages for me, okay? He said, holding 3 scrolls. Gamakichi nodded. Sure thing, boss. Who these going to? Bachan, Ero Sennin, and Itachi. The blonde said, handing the 3 scrolls to the small toad. Gamakichi nodded, saluting Naruto again. See ya, boss. The young toad vanished with a poof of smoke. The blonde sighed, staring at the spot Gamakichi Saturday. I just hope they can help. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button and subscribe for more content. Support the original author by clicking their profile link in the pinned comment of the first video of this series. They deserve the love. Want early access and exclusive content? Join my Patreon community, link below. Your support fuels these videos. Drop a comment with your thoughts, and I'll catch you in the next video. Stay entertained. Stay safe.